Welcome everyone to Comics from the Multiverse, episode 467. I am Peter, and joining me, as always, is Matt.
You're not David.
I'm not. One episode and you're...
I was told, new host, nice host, doesn't yell at me host, because it was coming back.
What?
Yeah.
That's when do I yell at you? What does that happen?
You just yelled at me that what we're doing today.
Yeah.
Like, but I also heard that there weren't books that were covered last week.
Yeah, you two were slacking, apparently. There was like half the books done. There was no solicits. Well, we're doing solicits today, everyone. Don't you worry. Those solicits will not be left untouched, okay? We'll be getting our grubby little mitts all over those bad boys. So, welcome everyone.
If I had time to make a sign, I'd make a sign that says, help me, I'm under distress. But I didn't have time.
So yes, welcome everyone to the DC Comics podcast. We get together, we talk about the DC Comics we read this week. Coming up on this week's show, we have Batman 161, Superman 28, Absolute Wonder Woman 10, Absolute Martian Manhunter issue 5, Green Lantern 25, Justice League Unlimited issue 9, and Mr. Teriffic Year 1 issue 3. Plus, I naturally have a Patreon book, which is American Vampire 1976 issue 10, which is notable because it's the last issue of American Vampire. So,
Ooh-wee.
Yeah, that wraps up today. So that is what's coming up on the show. Luckily, we do have a week 5 next week, which will let us catch up on a few books that weren't covered last week, and I can get some other Patreon books in and sort of make up for the lost time. Since I was sick last week, I was sick for like a week and a half. In fact, I got sick like hours after we recorded like 2 weeks ago. I was miserable for over a week.
Yeah, I thought it was just your sleep schedule. You're talking about how tired you were. And
no,
like, I'm gonna go rest.
This was not sleep tired. This was high fever. I can't sit up straight. Mm-hmm. I was meant to record the Superman review the next day, and I went for a shower. Right, I clearly didn't feel that great because I'd been kind of like conking in and out all day. But it was like an hour before I was supposed to record, and I thought, I better get up. I better get up and shower and get ready. I'm supposed to be recording this soon. I feel like shit, but I'll need to do it. And I was in the shower, and about 2 minutes into the shower, I realized that if I don't finish this quick, I'm going to collapse. So that was when I realized, I'm actually really sick. Like, there's something very wrong here. Turned out to be chickenpox, everyone, which apparently as an adult hits you really hard. So, don't recommend.
As an adult, it's typically called shingles. So, and it's bad.
Nah, they're technically different things. Chickenpox can become shingles, but they're not the same thing.
Gotcha.
So no, apparently I thought I had it as a child. I had something similar. So I got chickenpox, which was probably a child at the movie theater that did that to me. So my hatred of children has only grown exponentially after the nightmare that was that illness.
It was already at a 10, so imagine what it's at now.
They're the worst, absolute worst. But David did volunteer last week to come in and make sure there was an episode of some sort, so you didn't go without last week. And we're back this week, and I'm here to torment Matt like I usually am. So we'll get into everything, because like I said, we got solicits, we got some news, and we have the books. So how was your week, Matt?
Super stressful. So just work. It's not fun right now, and it's hot and it's miserable. I did see. Oh, it was last week. I had seen Superman for a third time. Supposed to be seeing Fantastic Four at some point. So
you don't need to bother with that.
No, I know. I'm going to. We were gonna go last night, but this work whooped my ass. So we didn't watch Happy Gilmore 2. Do not recommend. I love that first movie. It's one of my favorite movies. Yeah, it's basically what you would expect, which is just not good. That said, MJF, who plays one of his sons, extremely likable, which is very, very counter to how I feel about him on the wrestling program. So
that's very good casting, weirdly though, because I feel like he feels like he was born to play the son of Shooter McGavin.
No, he's Happy's son.
Oh, I just assumed that because he seems more fitting for Shooter McGavin.
Absolutely. So when he's Happy Gilmore's oldest son, you're just like, oh, what? And yeah, he's very likable, But yeah, it's not like, unless you guys are really, really, really big fans of Happy Gilmore, it's pretty rough.
Hey.
We paused it to take the dogs out, and there were still 45 minutes left, and it felt like it should have been wrapping up. So
I feel like sequels to comedies usually suck, but especially ones that come after a gap. Almost always are terrible. I can't think of a good example of a comedy that came back like even like 10 years later, never mind 25 years later, that ended up being anything other than just trash. So I'm not surprised to hear it. Speaking of MJF though, I actually did watch All In while I was sick.
Did you?
I did.
Yeah.
The first
you did not hallucinate. That main event was as spectacular as it could have been. So.
That was the first wrestling pay-per-view I've watched in like 2 years, but I'd heard good things, plus I was delirious. It just all the things converged to make it an appealing thing in the moment. So I did watch All In.
Yeah, the last 3 matches are quite a run to get to the main event. So highly recommend for anybody that's wrestling inclined. It's definitely good. I made the mistake of watching The Other Company. For a match that I was told was good, it was rough, man. Watching any of those matches compared to anything from AEW, and it's literally night and day. So I'm thankful it's around.
So yeah, I mean, this week was okay for me because it was the week I got better. So I mean, it's infinitely better than the previous week. Because that was the other thing, is I didn't just have chickenpox, I also got infected whilst I had chickenpox. So when I went to the doctor, like the Friday last week, she was like, "Wait, I mean, your fever should be bad at the start of chickenpox as an adult, but it should be gone by now." But it was getting worse again, like over Thursday and Friday, and it turned out it's because I got infected, so I had to go on antibiotics, which capsules aren't supposed to have a taste, right? Because they're capsules.
Oh.
Right?
They gave you the super duper antibiotics.
These things had such a horrible aftertaste. I was dreading every single time I had to take them. It was this like clockwork thing where I was like, oh god, I need to do this again.
Just the one thing you gotta take like four at a time, and then the next time you take 3 until, you know.
No, I've never heard of that. No. You take.
Yeah, I've been on an antibiotic. I got bronchitis so bad. I was on this antibiotic path that you start off by taking like 6 of them. And then by the next dose, 12 hours later, you're taking 4. It was wild. They didn't taste bad, but it was a lot of pills at a time.
This was just one every 6 hours for 5 days.
Oof.
But yeah, so that said though, those did kind of clear up like how shitty I was feeling fairly quickly. Yeah. So I felt better at the start of this week, and then by like midweek, I was like, okay, I think I'm starting to feel like I can do stuff again.
Was it an upper respiratory? Like what was infected?
Just some of the rash was infected.
You had one of those. When you said you were infected, I thought you meant like breathing sickness infection, like
no, I had
bronchitis type stuff.
No, I got like an infection.
Like a MRSA.
But I mean that's like honestly the most frustrating thing after like half a week was just I'm like, wait, I've not done any work in like 4 days, and I'm starting to feel like I'm just determined to get back to getting stuff done. So it was like the back half of it was more frustrating than anything else. But hey, whatever, it's over now. If you do want to go check out the 2 hours and 47-minute review of Superman that I did with David, who many of you maybe heard for the first time last week, we talked about that movie at length. It's up already on Mail Fuzz Movies over on YouTube or on the Collector's Cut audio podcast feed. So go check out that. Check out all of Superman season. We did a whole thing.
Yeah. Check out David's podcast too. The what the hell is that called?
It's called the
New 52.
It's called the Not So New 52, which he punishes himself by reading every single New 52 comic.
Yep.
He's quite far in now. He's only got like maybe the last 2 years of it left.
Yeah, he's in the home stretch now. So, but yeah, he's like, yeah, it doesn't get talked about enough. I also do a DC podcast, so we'll put David over as much as we can.
I'm sure I've mentioned it like once, sometime in the last 3 years.
Exactly, yeah. But yes, it was a pretty good guess. I thought I was going to do a lot of the hosting duty. He took over, which I'm thankful for. So
Nah, he's trying to get a hostile takeover. I keep an eye on him. He's a little deviant. That's what he is. All right, let's get into things, everyone. We'll start off with Matt's favorite segment of the show, and he loves it so much that Matt messaged me last week and said, "Hey, where do you get these Kindle rankings? We need to do them on the show. It's so important." So, not to worry.
Those are not my words. I did say we're gonna try to keep it. So Pete messaged me the night before, as I'm sitting waiting to watch Superman for the third time. I'm super sick. I'm not gonna make it. David will pop in. Make sure you message him. And I said, you want to run the show as normal? And Pete said, yes. I said, okay, then I need to know where to get the information so I could speed run the Kindle rankings. And yes, so we did them. Yeah, I don't like being on the other side. I felt like I was peeking behind the curtain.
Anyway, so yeah, we're looking at the rankings as of right now for the books that came out on Wednesday. Matt, what is your guess for what is number one?
Well, I don't want it to be Hattush, so I'm not going to say that. Even though it probably is, but I'm going to guess Absolute Wonder Woman.
It is not.
It's Batman, right?
It's not Batman.
Oh, good, thank God. Superman 28.
Although, something fishy here. I don't see Batman anywhere. Like the rest of the books that were out this week are here. Did Batman have like a slightly different digital release day or something?
I don't know. I read it late, so I got mine digitally and it was there. So,
because I didn't see it.
And it's not Superman 28.
It's not Superman now.
All right, let me scroll down and see if there's a Marvel event. I'm not seeing anything. Is it Uncanny X-Men?
It is not.
Okay, well then I'm out of guesses. It's not Absolute Martian Manhunter.
Nope.
Wow. All right, I'm out of guesses. What do we got?
Oh, speaking of, I don't see that either. What's going on? Why is this rankings weird? Anyway,
you miss 1 week and it turns on you.
Yeah, it's the New History of DC Universe issue 2.
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
Indeed.
Shocked.
Yeah, I don't know why it's oh, that's interesting. I can filter by publisher now? Wait. Why is DC not even in that list? There's DC books here. Alright, something weird's happening with this the Kindle rankings this week. I don't know what's going on. Anyway, but yeah, number one's the Secret History of DC. Next, number 2 is Superman. Number 3 is Uncanny X-Men. Number 4 is Amazing Spider-Man. Number 5 is Green Lantern. 6 is Storm. 7 is Phoenix. 8 is DC vs. Vampires World War V. 9 is West Coast Avengers. And 10 is Wolverine. With Mr. Teriffic at number 12. But yeah, like I say, weirdly, the Absolute books are missing. Batman's missing. Right. I don't know why.
Weird.
Because that's a considerable, like those Absolute books in Batman, I'd expect to all be in the 10 or close to at the very least.
Yeah, Woman, because every other week Absolute Wonder Woman's been up there, so that's super weird.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with that. I'll take a range, see if it affects like anything. Like so I'll just let's have a look and see if anything came out on like Thursday, Friday digitally. Did something weird happen this week? Nothing's like I'm not seeing them anywhere on any of those days. That's really strange. I don't know what's going on there. Because it's not like DC's filtered out. There's like a handful of DC books there.
Right.
So not sure what's going on. Anyway, so yeah, this week's Kindle rankings might be a little compromised. Very strange. But if I go to the previous week looks normal. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I don't know what's going on there. Oh wait, no. Oh no, it's normal. It's normal. All right, I don't know what's going on there. Whatever. I'm gone for 1 week and everything breaks down. We got more important things to talk about though. We got solicits to talk about. October solicitations. We also have some announcements and news from Comic-Con, which is going on at the minute, which we'll get to after the solicits. But we'll go through the October solicitations for DC Comics, and we'll see what's here. So one of the big things that was announced the week I was gone was DC KO. Issue 1's hitting in October. I saw like a blurb today that Scott Snyder, who's writing this, said it was like Squid Game meets Mortal Kombat, but more fun. So take that for what you will. I'll read the solicit text for this since it's a big new thing. The Heart of Apocalypse has transformed Earth into a hellscape in preparation for the return of Darkseid. The end of the DC universe is here. The Justice League's only chance to defeat Darkseid is to enter a deadly tournament, an epic, over-the-top battle royale. That's not what a battle royale is, but nice try. The world's greatest heroes fight to become the champion, to enter the ring against Darkseid, but there's a catch. The closer you get to the Heart of Apocalypse, the more it corrupts you, changes you into something dangerous. Which DC character has what it takes to get it to the end? Who is willing to do what it takes to win it all, even if it means taking down their friends and family? You want to get nuts? Let's get nuts. Oh, they're quoting Tim Burton's Batman at the end. How dare they? Yeah, Javier Fernandez is on the art for this. I don't know if this is technically the event of the year, or if there's like another event coming, because one of the announcements from SDCCC made it sound like something's leading to another event. So I don't know if this is the event. I think this is, but it's obviously a part of what's going on because it's dealing with the Darkseid stuff. So there's actually more information about this in the Comic-Con news, so we'll maybe come back to this once we get to that. But feelings, a single elimination tournament with all the DC characters, I mean, how does that feel to you?
I'm more a fan of a round robin tournament, the G1 type style.
Yeah, I don't think that would work.
Not really as fun.
Yeah, that wouldn't work in comic book form, though, Matt. I don't think.
Of course not. I don't know. This is weird. I don't know. We'll get there when we start talking about the books, because there's some big Darkseid stuff that happens.
Yes, there's some stuff this week that that kind of leads into this.
It really depends on what the setup's like. But there's a great Daniel Warren Johnson cover for this. That's Superman doing a Gonzo bomb on Darkseid.
Yeah. Now, are you aware of what KO stands for in this case?
I did. It was something Omega, right?
King Omega, knockout.
Yeah, King Omega.
So curious.
If we don't get a Kenny Omega, like special variant cover, they're missing out, and just that synergy.
I mean, I don't know if they'll think of doing that, but I mean, I get why it makes sense. But hey,
I mean, he was on screen with Corn Sweat a couple weeks ago. They brought Corn Sweat and Holt, and they did like TV spots with them. So,
Nicholas Holt.
Yeah.
Oh, I was
not Michael Holt.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Are you switching character and actor names around there?
No,
so that is scheduled for
my birthday, October 8th.
October 8th. But the week before that, there's what I believe is a one-shot called Justice League The Omega Act, issue 1, which is a special oversized prologue to DC's biggest event of the year. So I guess KO is the event. Everything since DC All-In Special Issue 1 has been building to this moment. Time Trapper is on the run from Darkseid's Legion, racing through time to learn how to stop Darkseid's conquest. He witnesses how the future is already lost, and the only hope of survival lies within the Justice League. The Time Trapper's apply to save the DCU, but it means making an impossible offer to the League. Probably to enter a tournament. So this one-shot is Joshua Williamson with Yasmin Putri on art. So it'll be interesting to talk about the books today, because there's stuff in 2 different books that feels like they're starting to build to this stuff. So we'll talk about that a bit later. But sure, it's time for an event. It's been a little while, I guess. So
yeah.
I think the premise for KO sounds a little bit strange and a bit gimmicky, but I mean, it may be a lot of fun once it gets going. I don't know. But I feel like Scott Snyder's events in general, the ones he writes, do tend to have a bit of a gimmicky feel to them to me, and this kind of fits into that.
For sure. It's kind of like up there with like metal and that kind of thing.
And it's not that they weren't fun,
different.
but they'll never be kind of at the heights of a Crisis or an Infinite Crisis to me, because they feel like they're in a kind of a gimmicky tier.
Yeah, and at least they're not calling it a crisis like that. You know, it's not like the Omega Crisis. So that helps. I feel like it's just an excuse to make the heroes fight each other, which I'm never just a fan of.
That's the worry. Yeah, that's the worry. Although I did just have the thought, since you said this wasn't called a crisis, what if the K stands for crisis with a K and it's Mortal Kombat related? Or if they ever do a big Mortal Kombat comic book crossover, they can call it like Crisis with a K, Crisis on Infinite, like Realms or whatever. I don't know. There's gold in them hills.
Yeah, Crisis on Earth Realm.
All right, so that's kind of the big event issues that are coming in October. So we're getting a one shot leading into it, and then the big kickoff a week later. So it should feel like a big deal, if nothing else. It'll give us something to talk about. So not mad at all. Next up, we got Justice League Unlimited issue 12. And it mentions the tournament happening, so some of the books are going to be tying into it a little bit. At least, I mean, based on stuff from this week, it does seem like Mark Waid's books might, because he seems to be like closely tied to the events, even if he's not writing them. So we've got that, and then we have Superman issue 31. Notably, Mr. Terrific's nice and tall on that cover. His popularity from the movie, maybe something they're sort of counting for here. So that's cool.
Wait. Talking about on Justice League Unlimited?
No, I'm talking about Superman.
No, the Superman cover, I got a Superman holding something broken in his hand.
Wait, hold on.
Art of Apocalypse.
I'm looking at the cover from the one above it, because it's closer to the text.
There you go. Okay.
Yeah, you're right. It's the Unlimited cover I was looking at.
I got very confused there for a second. Because I was looking at the David Aja cover.
It's because the cover's closer to the text for the one below it than it is the one it belongs to. That's just that was throwing me off there. But yeah, fair enough. So yeah, Superman 31, as mentioned, is here. So it also mentions the tournament and the solicits. So Superman, Justice League Unlimited, at the very least, will be tying in. Which, to be fair, based on the fact that those books are the ones that are kind of building to it already, it makes sense that they'll be tying in. Yep. So that makes enough sense to me. Then the Flash issue 26, and notably with new creatives on the book. As the chaos around the DC universe erupts during DCKO, Impulse has an idea how to fix it. Impulse Point, oh god. A terrible move that could wipe out everything unless Flash can catch up with him as they race through time.
Well, I think flashback to my pull list, because we got Mark Waid. I know he's co-writing it, but Mark Waid writing Impulse is something I will never miss.
It's Waid and Christopher Cantwell. Now, whether or not they're co-writing or Waid's doing, let's say, the backup or something like that, that remains to be seen. But yeah, I'll give it a try. I like the Flash, new team. Happy for that.
And Vasco Georgiev on the art, so I'm a big fan of that artist. So
I don't remember.
I'm excited to read Flash again.
I don't remember his art.
It was the Mary Marvel. Was that Mary Marvel book where she was going around? It wasn't Shazam. It was right after the Amazons one. It was by.
Oh, right, okay, no, I know what you're talking about. The Amazon's Attack, or whatever it was called.
Yes. So he did that art.
Okay, so, fair enough.
Yeah.
So yeah, it would be nice to be into Flash again. So that's cool. Titans 28 solicited here. And that's also tying into KO. Also, we're doing a lot of tie-ins to KO. Some more new. I actually didn't realize some of these were in the solicits. I thought these were all going to be in news afterwards. But Absolute Evil issue 1 is solicited here for the start of October. This is Al Ewing writing with Giuseppe Camunculi on the art. Here's the solicit text for this one. Without heroes, without protection, without restraint, there's only absolute evil. The emergence of superheroes has caught the attention of the world, and it certainly caught the attention of the people who run it. Ra's al Ghul, Veronica Cale, Eleanor Thawne, Hector Hammond, and the mysterious Joker have worked at cross purposes until now, but this growing threat requires new ways of thinking and new partnerships. An insidious betrayal from which within their ranks is imminent, and if they don't take action, they'll lose control of a planet that was built to be their playground. So this is interesting because it's focusing on all the sort of evil characters who all happen to be billionaires, And they're all characters who have already been mentioned across all the Absolute books, which I think is quite interesting to some extent. So
it's very weird not to have Lex's name amongst those, right?
We haven't done them in the Absolute Universe yet, though. So
I know. What's cooking with Lex is what I want to.
Maybe Lex is a hero in the Absolute Universe. Maybe he's flipped.
Maybe Darkseid saw him too much of a threat and wiped him from existence. You know? Can't have that. But yeah. But the rest of them, Roz, Kale, Thawne, like, yeah, it's nice that we're getting like a supervillain team up before we get the hero team up. It's very, very much in spirit with what the Absolute Universe seems to be.
Well, because they're very specifically all rich in this universe, right? They're all, and we've seen that across the books. Ra's al Ghul's running the big company. Veronica Cale's in Wonder Woman running a company. Eleanor Thawne's the one in charge of the experiments in Flash. Hector Hammond just showed up from a helicopter in Green Lantern. So, and Joker, of course, has been like this, mysterious billionaire behind everything, and Batman. So, I think what's interesting here is that it's like a team up, but it's like, or kind of, but it's more like all the 1%ers sort of colluding because they don't like that there's these like powerful do-gooders around. I think there's a lot of potential here. Al Ewing can be a phenomenal writer, not always, but can be. Yeah. So there's definitely potential here, for this. So yeah, cool. It's unexpected. We didn't necessarily see this Absolute book coming, but this is cool. Absolute Batman Annual issue 1. So we're getting an annual in October. So this obviously is a week 5, as per usual. But this is interesting in that it's Daniel Warren Johnson, James Harren, and Meredith McLaren writing. So Johnson's an interesting name there. I'm definitely curious to see what he's doing there. So this will be anthology style, I assume, with a few different stories by different writers, which I get, because Snyder's the only one who's really written Absolute Batman, and it makes sense that some other writers want to dip their toes in and say, hey, I want to do something with that version of Batman. I've got a little idea here or there. So now, do we think Daniel Warren Johnson is doing the art for his too? Because I don't see any artists on here. Yeah, there's no artist listed yet, which so he could be doing the art on his own, or it could just be that there's not assigned 3 artists to this shit. So for the various stories.
There's his cover, and he draws Absolute Batman very well. So, big. His art style fits with Absolute Batman. So very, very curious to see what this is.
Yeah, of course, him doing a cover doesn't necessarily indicate that he'll do interiors, but he very well might, especially since it's only going to be a third of the book.
Right, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. So we get Absolute Batman 13, of course, which makes sense, which is capping off the Bane arc, which only just got started, really. Well, I think there's been 2, but I didn't read the last one yet. So it just started.
Oh, you haven't read it yet? I was going to ask what you thought of it.
I haven't read anything from last week. I haven't touched a single comic from last week.
Cool.
So we got that. We have... Do you think that's how... maybe she showed up already, but do you think that's how Absolute Catwoman actually always looks, or is this like a specific reason why she has this circular head that I'm seeing in this cover?
Well, it looks like one of the party animal masks, so I'm wondering if she's used that tech
maybe
in order to help her do things. Yeah, that was my thought when this popped up. So
yeah, the rest of the outfit's normal, but there's like a sort of like glass dome around her head with the cat ears coming out.
She's like if Mysterio was playing Catwoman.
Yeah, Mysterio's cosplaying as Catwoman for Halloween. Absolute Wonder Woman issue 13. So that's obviously coming out. And speaking of Kelly Thompson, this is not DC news, but they just announced at Dynamite that Kelly Thompson's doing both a Buffy and an Angel series at Dynamite. So that's interesting.
Well, I'll be picking up the Buffy one for sure, because that is right in the wheelhouse of Kelly Thompson that I like, right? Yeah. Group dynamics.
Yeah, well, she's writing both, and they're supposed to be companion to each other, so it's probably worth reading both if you're going to read one.
Well, if I have the time, I would love to. Let's see.
It's just weird that you're all in one of them, but not both of them. It's like, if you like Buffy, you like Angel.
One book is... Well, it's because one book is less than 2 books, Pete. You know what I mean?
You could read neither, and 0 is much less than 2.
That is true. You got me there.
Yeah, simple science. Absolute Superman issue 12 is there, as you'd expect. So that's cool. We're getting more Brainiac stuff, which I'm happy about because I really like the Brainiac issue.
That is like a reanimator looking Brainiac here. Ooh-wee.
I like the exposed brain. It works for me. Absolute Flash issue 8. So yeah, as expected. Absolute Green Lantern issue 7. Also cool. We got Batman issue 2. So that's right. Remember, everyone, that despite the Hush issues being delayed, Batman issue 1 will be launching in September. So issue 2 is here for us.
I cannot wait till September, man. It's just this is the light that's getting me through that tunnel.
We'll see how Matt Fraction does on Bats, but that's the bar's pretty low right now between the last 2 runs, so I'm feeling hopeful. You can step over the bar, Pete. Next we got Red Hood issue 2, which I believe I am going to have to read this book. Tyler is making me. Tyler's got 2 books that he can pick for me. He doesn't know what he's replacing American Vampire with yet, but he is putting me on Red Hood when that launches, taking over from his leak. Because he was kind of like using it on Supergirl, which he didn't really need to use because I was going to read that anyway, but I'm officially on Red Hood when it launches.
And you consider this person a friend?
Like, I'm just hoping that Gretchen Felker Martin, who's the writer, is good.
if it's the Red Hood that we've been given the last 5 years, I think you're in good hands. If it's the one that we're reading in Hatouche, you are screwed, sir. This might be the meanest thing he could have done. So we will see.
We'll find out. Huntress is in the book according to the cover, so I like Huntress well enough. That's all right. So that's cool. In fact, are him and Huntress a romantic pairing? One of those covers is looking a little bit flirty.
It makes it. Yeah, is it a Jim Lee cover? Let me see.
I think it's a Lee cover. Yeah.
Yeah. He might just be.
I don't know. Yeah,
taking forever to load.
Might just be him doing his thing. Nightwing 131. Obviously we've been enjoying that run. Looking forward to that. Yeah. Detective Comics 1102. These numbers are getting clunky to say because it's so big. Not that I'm saying they should renumber. I'm not saying that. I like the big numbers. It's just clunkier to say. So obviously we're excited about that. More Tom Taylor Detective is good. We got Catwoman issue 80. You know what? Good for Catwoman to get to that number. Yeah, and it's the writer from Batgirl who's writing Catwoman just
Torin Grunbeck.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, Grunbeck, yeah.
Yeah. When did Ram V take over? Was it 25?
He did like one backup story, I think, in 25, and then he started proper with 26, if I recall correctly.
Okay. Well, I mean, still, that was like how long ago that was now.
Oh, that was ages ago now, yeah.
Yeah.
So he wasn't on it for that long. It was, maybe 20 issues at most?
If that.
Yeah. It wasn't that long. So that's Catwoman 80. Cool front cover for that as well, actually.
Yeah.
Really nice.
I like that a lot.
Yeah. Sebastian Fiumura, who's the cover artist on that, which is like a little girl looking into a mirror, but it's like adult Catwoman staring back at her. Really nice. Harley Quinn 55 is a thing. Good for it. Poison Ivy 37, also a thing. But, you know, I like Wilson, so I'm not bad-mouthing Poison Ivy, but not for me.
Yeah, I'll take as many issues as they keep pumping out. So.
Well, luckily for you, you're getting 2 because there's an annual in October.
Hey! Ooh, that's a great cover, too. I like that cover.
Yeah, also by Wilson, so that's cool stuff. We got Birds of Prey issue 26, which is also cool. We've been enjoying that quite a bit. Yeah. I quite like that cover as well, actually.
Yeah.
We got Batgirl. On you go.
It looks like they're shutting somebody into the hood or the trunk of a car. Oh. So that's, you know.
I was wrong. That was not the Batgirl writer on Catwoman. It's Tate Brombal who's the writer on Batgirl.
That's why I got confused. You were talking about a different book. That's why I asked if it was Grunbeck.
Do you know what it is? I think it's because Brombal and Grunbeck are just, they sound like they're from the same language. So I just conflated them. That's my
I thought you were
bad.
talking about a Batgirl book that I didn't read, and I was like, oh yeah, sure.
No,
cool.
no. I'm just forgetting names. Grimbeck's been on some. I feel like I remember saying that name for something.
Yeah. Which is good, which is why I didn't correct.
No, that was Turso Khan's. I was going to say, was it that Deathstroke All Winter book, but it wasn't. That was Turso Khan's.
Mm.
But again, Cold, Grimbeck, they feel like they fit together. Anyway, so yeah, Batgirl issue 12. That's a very pretty cover actually for Batgirl. Yes. It's Batgirl cast jumping in front of the bat signal in the sky, but it's snowing. Oh, that's very pretty. Very, very pretty. That's David Talaski is the cover artist on that. We got Batman and Robin 26, more Philip K. Johnson, which is cool. Yep. We're into New York, seemingly by this point, so that's cool. And then we have Batman and Robin Year 1, issue 12, so that's wrapping up, and that's been a phenomenal series. So,
can't wait for you to read that one from last week, because that was high marks across the board.
Yeah, I don't know if I'll, like, because between, like, the 4 or 5 that you didn't do in the show, plus the 3 new ones, plus, like, 2 Patreon books, I'll probably have plenty to read next week, so I probably won't read the other ones. It'll probably be the week we do the next issue where I'll read the stuff that I wasn't here for, and I'll give some thoughts then. But, yeah. Batman, Superman, World's Finest. We're getting more Supergirl and Robin team up, apparently. So... cool, I guess.
There's a Fornes cover that looks like very old Silver Agey, complete with the color dots, and it looks like it's a flip cover. So,
I see it.
That's super cool. I like that. Yeah, I like that a lot.
Then we got Batman Dark Patterns issue 11, which is the part of the 4th arc, or case number 4, as the solicit text calls it. So that's neat. Been loving that book. Is this for week 5? It is Superman Red and Blue 2025 special issue 1. So it's kind of an annual, but it's got Dan Abnett, Michael Walsh, Paul Dini, and Rainbow Rowell writing presumably different stories in this. So yeah, interesting.
We'll have to see where we're at, how many books in that 5th week. But I'll definitely check out a Paul Dini Superman story. Yeah.
Well, I think this is one of these, black and white, but with the...
Yeah.
It's one of those.
I remember there was a Superman Red and Blue a while ago.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it was ages ago now, I think.
Yeah. Because we did a couple of those issues before. We're just like, oh, there's other stuff we got going on.
Action Comics 1091 is there. Well, that's got a pretty neat cover, actually. Very pulpy. And we got Supergirl issue 6 from Sophie Campbell, who seems to, I mean,
be back.
It doesn't well, she never left, but
no,
I'm assuming doing the art because it doesn't mention an artist. But I mean, it may just be that they've not got an artist solicited yet. But it's probably just.
And that's what I meant by the back, because I think on the last solicit it was somebody else, so almost given like breaks in between there. But yeah.
Crypto, Last Dog of Krypton issue 5, so penultimate issue of that miniseries. And then we got Superman Unlimited issue 6, the Dan Slott series. So that's ongoing. We got Adventures of Superman, the Book of L issue 2. This is the Philip Kennedy Johnson 12-issue series that's starting in September. Kind of excited to see what he's got planned for that. So that's cool. We got Wonder Woman 26. So Tom King's run, Soldiers On. Great cover to that as well, as expected. Daniel Sampere covers usually hit quite well. Trinity, Daughter of Wonder Woman issue 5, penultimate issue of that miniseries. And then we got Cheetah in Cheshire, Rob the Justice League issue 3, the Greg Rucka book, which is starting next month. So that should be exciting with Nicholas Scott. And then we got Justice League Red issue 3. I totally forgot. This always happens with these books that I've not started yet. I totally forgot this was a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, that's a thing that's starting next month as well, by Saladin Ahmed, with Clayton Henry on art. We got Mr. Terrific Year 1 issue 6, so that's wrapping up that series, which we've been enjoying. We got The New Gods issue 11. from Ram V. Very cool. That's also a pretty neat cover, actually, with all the various superhero hands coming in to try and grab the New God kid. Yeah. Aquaman issue 10 exists. I have nothing to add. We have GSA issue 12, so that's continuing on with Jeph Lemire. I wish I was excited for that. I really do. It's such a shame how that book makes me feel. Green Arrow issue 29 solicited, so that's ongoing. It's a pretty neat cover, actually, to be fair.
People keep asking us to read this, and I've heard rumblings that it's amongst the best thing going at DC right now.
Yeah, ever since Chris Condon took over as writer, I think when people started asking us to write it. I mean, Montos on art for this issue in particular does sound quite good.
Yeah, so I mean, I might have to open up, and hopefully one of the viewers / listeners would be generous enough if I open up a Patreon to assign it, and I would have no excuse not to read it. But I also have trust issues, which is why I haven't done it yet. So I get stuck reading Red Hood.
Hey, people can make me read this if they want. There's that option's there on Patreon.
Yeah.
It's an expensive tier, but the option is there. Green Lantern issue 28. So that's cool. That's, again, we get more hands on covers. We get covers of hands. Yeah. In this case, it's Hal and Carol holding each other's hand.
It's very loving, right? And it's very tender.
Yeah, with the rings shining to make the color pop. We have Green Lantern Corps issue 9 as well, of course, to go alongside that. So that is cool. We have Joker Harley Malicious Intent issue 1. This is Cami Garcia with Jason Bador and Miko Suin on art. So what was this? So 1 year after defeating the Joker, Harley is still hunting serial killers. Oh, is this a sequel to that?
It's a sequel to Criminal Sanity.
Ah, do you know, I never finished that because of the delays, but I definitely remember having fun with what I read of it.
Yeah, that's where what hit the bell for me was the Miko Suiyan as the art, because that's the only time I've ever remember that name.
Was that Cami Garcia who did the first one?
I don't remember. It might have been.
I don't remember it being Cami Garcia, but I also don't remember who it was, so it could have been.
Take a look right now.
Weird, yeah.
Criminal Sanity.
So yeah, but when Gotham headlines about a new serial killer or a new series of grisly crime scenes lead to speculation that her nemesis is somehow escaping Arkham to continue a murder spree, she feels compelled to return. Jonathan Crane, former classmate and current head of Arkham Asylum, assures her that the Joker is securely locked in his cell. Yet the women of Gotham are still being stalked by a killer who is using their corpses to make art. I don't know if I would trust that Jonathan Crane Harley. red flags all around for him.
Yeah, it was Cami Garcia and Miko Suiyan. Yeah.
Interesting.
So they're doing a very sneaky sequel to this. That's cool.
Yeah, there's no mention of how many issues it is, but I assume it's not just a one shot. I assume it's probably going to be like a 3 or 4 issue number.
Yeah, that's 44 pages. So that would make sense for it to be like a mini.
Yeah, one of those black label books where the page counts up. $7 book. Now I probably won't remember, but if I do remember, I might read the previous book so I can read this when it's coming out. I'll probably forget, so I don't want to make any promises, but I do like the idea of reading this because I had fun with what I read of that first one. I kind of forgot it existed, and I just read the start of the description and went, wait a minute, this is ringing some bells here. I remember this being a thing. Cover's pretty neat. I remember the art being quite enjoyable. So I'm interested. I'm surprised at this, but I'm pleased. Next up, Superman the Kryptonite Spectrum. This is the W. Maxwell Prince book, which is starting next month. And then we have Immortal Legend Batman issue 3. This is the super anime one by Kel Higgins, I think. Which I can't say I'm particularly excited about, but fair play.
It's not high on the list to check out.
It's not high on the list. We got events starting, we got other books starting over the next couple of months. I don't need to be trying the anime Batman. Green Lantern Dark issue 7, which, that has way more issues than I thought it was going. I thought that was going to be a 3-issue book, and then I thought it was going to be like a 6-issue book, but there's an issue 7 apparently, so fair play.
I would say if that's the only thing we can bring up on that is that it feels like the pacing's off. However, the story has been so good. Like, I'll take a little bit of wonky pacing.
It was so weird because the first issue could have just been a one-shot, because the first issue had a story that felt like it had an ending, and it was satisfying. And then like the longer story started to sort of properly start in issue 2. But yeah, it's interesting. But I'm not mad to see it still going. I've been having a mostly good time with it. Gotham by Gaslight, A League for Justice issue 4. So that's continuing as you'd expect. We got Gotham Academy first year issue 1. This is Becky Cloonan. This is Becky Cloonan and Becky Cloonan writing, with Brendan Fletcher also writing. There's obviously a mistake here where they've got Becky Cloonan twice.
Who would always write with Becky Cloonan? It was a Michael, right? So now his name is just Becky Cloonan.
And Becky Cloonan, yes. Maybe it's in the solicit text. Yeah, I don't know. They've got more writers. Anyway, so yeah, this is more Gotham Academy stuff. I tried the first couple issues of the original Gotham Academy, wanting to like it, but not really getting into it. So I can't say I'll be checking this out. But I mean, for people who liked it, it's cool that it's existing still in some form. It's a different corner of the DCU to appeal to certain people. Court, Children of the Round Table issue 2, the weird Tom Taylor book that I don't even want to try, is still going on. So that's issue 2 of that. Teen Titans Go issue 8, so that's there for your kiddies. And then you got facsimile editions and your reprints, which I won't bother wasting time with. We'll just scroll down until I get to the collected editions, and we'll mention some of these quickly. So Absolute Flash Volume 1 hardcover, as well as softcover. So yeah, that makes sense. That's coming out. That's issue 1-6 of that book. And then we got Absolute Green Lantern Volume 1 Without Fear, which is again both hardcover and softcover, and is again 1-6, the typical issue count for one of these. Superman Volume 5 Love and Mercy trade paperback, which has got issues 24 to 27 and the Lex Luthor special issue 1, so everyone's favorite part of the run. Action Comics Superstars Volume 2, so this is more of the rotating teams, presumably. Collecting some of that. G. Willow Wilson, John Ridley, being the two 3-issue arcs that are in there. Then we got Aquaman Volume 1 The Dark Tide trade paperback. This is a Jeremy Adams run. So that's coming out. Batman and Robin Year 1 hardcover, as well as softcover. Makes sense. That one's destined for a deluxe down the line. It's destined for an absolute edition, so pick your poison. Standard size hardcover, though, is probably a decent way of reading it if you want to. So
it says 1 through 12. Is that normal for a hardcover at 336 pages?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, sometimes they may split it in 2 and do a volume 1 and 2, but for this they've made the choice of just doing one big 12-issue book, which I think is the right call, to be honest. I think that's going to read very well as one series in a book. I mean, 12, 13 issues is usually what a deluxe is as well, so there's no reason why a regular hardcover can't be that. So that's cool. And then we have Titans Volume 4, some of the John Layman run, 22 to 27, that's collecting. We got Secret 6 trade paperback by Nicole Maines. That's the 1-6 miniseries. And then we got DC's Finest Green Lantern, Earth's Other Green Lantern trade, which is collecting Green Lantern 40 to 61, Brave and the Bold 69, Detective Comics 350. So that's a Silver Age stuff. This is Bob Haney, Gardner Fox, John Broome, Mike Friedrich. Yeah, I was going to say I don't recognize that title. So yeah, this is the Silver Age era. So cool. DC's Finest Wonder Woman Introducing Wonder Woman trade. Writer William Marston. So I'm going to go out on a limb here and say this is the Golden Age Wonder Woman.
Yep.
Because otherwise it wouldn't be that name.
The first sentence is where it all began. The first Wonder Woman comics ever.
I mean, yeah, literally the first ever, yeah.
Yeah.
So William Marston and his kinky self. I never saw the movie about him, but it was implied in the trailer that he was into some stuff.
Yeah, I mean, her early weakness was bondage, so I would definitely guess like he was working out his stuff here, you know.
Yeah, so that's cool. DC's finest Superman, the Invisible Luthor trade. Again, this is Golden Age, but it's like this probably the second or third chunk of Golden Age because it's Action Comics 26 to 40. So yeah, probably volume 3 of the Golden Age stuff in this format. And then we got We 3 DC Compact Comics Edition. Oof. This is the Grant Morrison miniseries. So there's that. Batman Santa Claus Selenite Returns trade paperback. So that's collecting the Christmas series. We got the sequel from last December. And we got DC vs. Vampires World War V Volume 2, collecting 7 through 12. And Batman by Darwin Cook, Absolute Edition, which is collecting a bunch of different stuff. We got Selina's Big Score, Catwoman 1 to 4, a few issues of Detective Comics, some specials. So yeah, cool. Makes sense.
It's also a Just Imagine Stan Lee. So that's cool. I didn't realize he did that. He did art for that.
Then we got Hitman by Garth Ennis and John McCree, Omnibus Volume 2. So big 1100 page beefy boy doing that. And then we got Doom Patrol by Keith Giffen and Matthew Clark, Omnibus hardcover. So some classic classic Doom Patrol, I should say, sorry. So yeah, issues 1 to 22 from... Oh, it's not that I thought it was older than this. It's 2009. No. For some reason, I thought this was like I don't know, 80s. I thought this was like pre.
You're thinking pre-Morrison?
I was thinking pre-Morrison, yeah. But no, fair enough. This is late 2000s series.
Yeah, there's definitely some books in here that I read, like the Teen Titans 32, 33 to 34, because that was the whole Beast Boy stuff. Brave and the Bold 8, Secret 6, number 4. So yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, it's interesting. And we got Batman and Robin Adventures, Volume 1, New Edition. This is Paul Dini. Yeah,
it's the Batman and Robin Adventures 1 through 10 from back in the day.
Yeah. But looking at the animated series, yeah. We got Batman the Demon Trilogy hardcover, New Edition. So this is the the various Ra's al Ghul graphic novels that came in the early 90s. So that's cool. Then we got Wonder Woman Spirit of Truth, New Edition. This is Paul Dini with Alex Ross on the cover. It just tells us there's no... I mean, it says teams up with illustrator Alex Ross, so I assume he's also the interior.
Yeah, this was one. They did one for Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman back in the day.
That's cool.
I forget what the other two are called.
And that wraps up the solicits for October. So we did it. So yeah, we got a big event starting off, which is the big thing. We got a couple of annuals. Not a ton though, admittedly. Like I'm actually curious. I always like to check this. So what day were those annuals? It was October 29th. So I'm just going to check something. So week 5 in October has Absolute Batman annual. It has the Poison Ivy annual, and it has the Superman Red and Blue special. Hey, Matt, honestly, that might be a week off because there's only one of those books that I think we need to read, and we can just do it the following week.
That's Halloween weekend. I'll be taking up some time in October anyways, between my birthday and going to Horror Nights. So, we'll do something.
We can do it at the end of the month. I'm giving you an official week off.
Yeah, but I'm not going to wait that long. I'm not going to go to the Horror Nights 2 days before Halloween.
Well, you can do it not on a Saturday, right? What cracked?
We'll see. We'll see when my brother can get off. I can take off whenever. Like, it doesn't matter. My brother, not so much. So, but I have to go do the new Jason stuff. So,
So, just to skim over this Comic-Con news, it's mostly stuff that was in the solicits, to be honest, although there was maybe a couple of extra details here or there. There is a new series that was announced called Night Fight by Joshua Williamson and Dan Mora, because Dan Mora has just got time to do as many books as possible.
Does he have a Mr. Terrific-esque setup where he just has, like, machines right? Like orbs floating him. They keep him, drawing and keep him sustained.
I think
what's the man doing?
He reached into another dimension and like grabbed a second Dan Mora so they can do all these books. So this is like Batman going into different alternate futures where all the various Robins have become Batman and he fights them. That's what the pitch of this book is. Yeah, this sounds stupid. And I don't know.
Damian Batman will kill him. He doesn't. I remember Batman 666. That dude's fighting demons. He does not have time for his dad coming in there and trying to fight him.
I mean, it does say twisted alternate futures, so presumably it's not them trying to say that this is what any of the futures going to actually be. It's just a bunch of weird. But that just makes it feel like it's even less like important. It feels like just a weird excuse to have a bunch of Batman fighting Robins and other Bat outfits. That's all it sounds like to me. So it sounds a bit shallow. And Williamson.
I think he's gonna. Who do you think he's gonna have the toughest time with?
I don't know. So we're going to have Batman Dick. We're going to have Batman Jason. We're going to have Batman Damien. You're going to have Batman Tim.
Which is funny because out of all the futures, I don't think I've actually read one where Jason became Batman.
Oh, that's fair. Yeah.
You know what I mean? We've seen Tim. We've seen Damien. Dick has held it in the regular continuity.
Yeah, he doesn't need a future. He's just done it. Yeah.
Yeah. He's done it. So Jason would be curious. So but I still don't want to read this.
I mean, we'll obviously try it, but I have to admit, I'm not feeling particularly excited. This is one of these concepts where I'm like, this is just the most dumb comic book idea ever. Like, I don't feel any passion for it. It mentions the new Flash arc here, which is called Impulse Control, by Chris Cantwell. So we mentioned that in the solicits. But it's Chris Cantwell and Mark Waid. Follows Wally West and Bart Allen in a two-lead book that pits them against the timeline-threatening Impulse Plan, which is that Impulse Point, as we mentioned in the solicit. So yeah, that was brought up. They also mentioned that Legion of Darkseid is contained in Superman and mentioned the thing that happens at the end of this week's Superman, but we'll save that for talking about the book. So there's that. They also brought up Justice League, the Omega Act, which is that one-shot, which is just kind of a bridge into the event. They mentioned stuff about Aquaman, which just kind of spoils what's going on with Aquaman right now. And then they did mention the Absolute Universe, which they promised that isn't ending. It's something that they're planning on keeping going. They mentioned Absolute Evil, which we talked about in the solicits, with the evil billionaires all kind of like colluding. But they announced a new miniseries, a 6-issue Absolute book called Absolute Green Arrow, which is a 6-issue book by Pornsak Pichotti, if I'm saying that correct, and Raphael Albuquerque, and that's coming in spring 2026. So we're getting a mini-series for Green Arrow, Absolute Green Arrow. So I don't know what to expect from that, but that is what it is. And that was pretty much it. I mean, Snyder was teasing that he's going to do the origin of Absolute Bane soon, and Deathstroke and whatnot, but like, it wasn't like in terms of raw announcements. This seems to be it, at least based on this article from Aped that I'm using. So yeah, and they talked about Knockout and King Omega and like So yeah, that was kind of the news. Aside from one other thing, which is the Eisner Awards happened because Comic-Con's on. Oh yeah. So I'll mention some of the bigger awards. But the best continuing series went to Santos Sisters by Greg and Fake, Graham Smith, David Landsberger, and Mark Kopranarov. Never heard of it, but congratulations to them. For DC stuff, both Detective and Wonder Woman were nominated. So there were some DC stuff in there. Cool. Marvel had 2 books as well. Marvel had Ultimate Spider-Man and Fantastic Four. So DC and Marvel were pretty even there. Best limited series went to a DC book, a surprising one to be honest, because I wasn't that hot on it by the end. But Zatanna Bring Down the House by Tamaki won that category. Also, the Alan Scott Green Lantern book was nominated for it as well. So yeah, a couple of DC books in there, including the winner. Best new series went to a DC book. That went to Absolute Wonder Woman by Kelly Thompson. So that is super exciting because obviously that's been great. We've been singing its praises. Absolute Batman was also nominated there. So, yep, couple of DC books. No Marvel. Not that I'm rubbing it in or anything, but yeah, no Marvel in that category. Best publication for early readers, Hilda and Twig Hide from the Rain by Luke Pearson. Best short story, Spaces by Phil Jimenez, which is from the DC Pride special from 2024. So technically that's a DC one. Best single issue or one shot went to The War on Gaza by Joe Sacco. That sounds very topical and very hard hitting.
Yeah, very appropriate.
Yeah. Best publication for kids went to Plain Jane and the Mermaid by Vera Brosgol. Best publication for teens went to Lunar New Year Love Story by Jinlin Yang and Lu Wen Pham. So, obviously we recognize that name there, so that's cool.
Yeah.
Best humor publication went to Processing 100 Comics That Got Me Through It by Tara Booth. Best anthology went to Godzilla's 70th Anniversary, edited by Jake Williams and others from IDW. Yeah. I'll probably leave it there. There's some other categories, but they're all kind of really niche things that we won't have any kind of basis for. But, yeah, a couple of DC ones. And a lot of DC nominations, so can't be too mad, I don't think, all things considered. But, cool. There you go. Oh, actually, hold on, we do have some big awards. Best Writer.
Oh.
Yeah, these ones were further down.
Who was nominated?
So, nominated, Tom King for... for The Decision, which is an Archie book. Animal Pound, which is a Boom series that he did. Helen of Windhorn, which is a Dark Horse series he did. Jenny Sparks, The Penguin, and Wonder Woman. So yeah, all his DC books are there, but he had 3 other books too. Ram V for Rare Flavors, from Boom. Dawn Runner from Dark Horse. The One Hand from Image. Universal Monsters, Creature from the Black Lagoon from Image and Skybound. So they don't actually mention any of his DC books here.
No, he didn't. He had a quite of a lull until New Gods.
He spent a lot of the 2024 off. That's a good point.
Yep.
Now I'm thinking about it. You're right. Kelly Thompson was nominated for Absolute Wonder Woman, Birds of Prey, Scarlet, which is an Image book, and Venom War, It's Jeph from Marvel. So yeah, that's cool. Because
those are 3 that were in our top 5, I believe, at the end of 2024.
Oh, the writers, yeah. No, I'm happy that she got nominated. I just hope that doing these Buffy and Angel pair of books don't take her off one of the DC books. I hope she's able to do all 4 for a while. But hey, James Tynion the Fourth was nominated for Something Is Killing the Children. Wind from Boom. Blue Book, The Oddly Pedestrian Life of Christopher Chaos from Dark Horse. Spectrograph from Distillery. Department of Truth, and The Deviant from World Tree, from Image. So notably,
it's been a while since we've gotten a nice house, hasn't he? Haven't we?
Yeah, it's on a bit of a break, I think, between issues.
Okay.
Yeah.
Surprised that wasn't listed.
Yeah. Well, how much of that was in 2024 though? I feel like that may have been mostly this year.
Time has no meaning, man.
I know, it's weird. Time's kind of fluttering around.
Yeah.
I want to point out though that all those writers that I have listed so far are all either right now or have been in the past heavy DC writers. It's actually kind of cool to see all these names. The winner, though, the one name that I've not mentioned, is Jinlin Yang for Lunar New Year Love Story.
Okay.
So
you know what? Good for him.
Yeah.
Brought me a lot of joy writing Superman and New Superman and the Teriffics. So I'm glad he's getting some shine for other things.
Yeah. Best writer/artist combination is Charles Burns for Konomix from Fantagraphics, Final Cut from Pantheon, Unwholesome Love, co-published with Partners and Son. And I'll say this, all these best writer-artist combos are all people that I've not heard of, and they all come from publishers that I don't really know. So, yeah. Also, I'm just going to gloss past that. Best penciler/inker or penciler-inker team. Nominated is Philippe Andrade for Rare Flavors from Boom, Nick Dragata for Absolute Batman from DC,
Okay.
Manu Larsenet for The Road from Abraham's Comic Arts. Javier Rodríguez for Zatanna from DC. Liu Yun Pham for Lunar New Year Love Story. And the winner, Bilquis Evely for Helen of Windhorn from Dark Horse. Yeah, I knew that was...
Look, I got the first issue of that. Didn't get to read it. Have it still. I stay winning. I'm gonna say.
Best painter / multimedia artist went to Eduardo Rizzo for The Blood Brothers' Mother from Distillery. Best cover artist went to Tula Lote for a whole huge list of things, frankly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's cool. Best coloring went to Jordi Belair. To be fair, Jordi Belair's name pops up as the colorist in so many of our DC books. It's kind of nuts.
Yeah.
And there's stuff listed here that aren't even DC. Like, it lists Absolute Wonder Woman. It lists Birds of Prey. It lists John Constantine Hellblazer Dead in America. It lists Nice House by the Sea. So I guess that was counted in 2024. It lists The City Beneath Her Feet from Distillery. The Exorcism of at 1600 Pen from IDW. World Tree from Image. G.I. Joe and Duke from Image Skybound. So,
damn.
Belair colors so many books. It's unreal.
And the coloring always matches the tone of the book, right? It's not like Belair has a style. It always goes in with whatever, so that's a well-earned title.
Yeah, and then the final award here is Best Lettering, which went to Clayton Cowles from Animal Pound from Boom, FML, Helen of Windhorn from Dark Horse, Absolute Batman and Robin Year One, Birds of Prey, Jenny Sparks, and Wonder Woman from DC, and also Strange Academy and Venom from Marvel. So, admittedly, we don't necessarily notice the letter credits all that often. Lettering tends to only stick out usually when it's bad. But Clayton Cowles had 6-7 DC books in there, so we've clearly seen a lot of his work. So, very cool. Alright, with that said, we are done with news. We could finally get into the books. So, we will start off with Batman 161, Legacy number 926. This is Jeph Loeb writing with Jim Lee on the art, or for those of you who might prefer, Hatush. So, Matt, you don't look happy.
I don't like this book. I don't like this book. I even saved it close to last, because usually first thing I open in the week is something that I don't get out of the way. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to start with something else this week, really start the week. And I just should have started with this. Because after you read the good things that came out this week, and then you have to read this, it makes you that much more angry. And I get so confused, because I know Jeph Loeb has had rough patches as a writer, right? There's a lot of the Ultimate stuff from, a decade and a half ago really whiffed. Not all of his DC stuff was great, but this might be one of the worst things I've ever read from him.
Yeah, first of all, rookie mistake, Matt. I read this first to get it out of the way. That was my game plan.
I normally do that, but I was like, you know what? I'm really enjoying Mr. Teriffic Year One. Let's start the week with a bang. And I was like, that was so good. And then I read this last night or the night before. I can't remember. It was last night. God, man. Maybe I want to quit reading comics. It was that bad. That was funny to say. But, man, where do we even begin with how bad this is?
Well, I mean, we start off, because it starts off wrapping up the cliffhanger from the last one, which was that Hush had Damien with a blade to his neck, and there's a bit of a standoff. And then Damien basically just does the Batman Year One trick. So we reference Batman Year One. Batman even brings it up in his narration. He's like, years ago, when I was cornered by the GCPD, I unleashed a horde of bats. So they're referencing, the classic stories. They do it again later on with a Killing Joke, because there's a lot of, so my couple of big things with this issue is that it wraps up where we left off last time, what feels like super easy, and it just to deflate everything again, so that we're back to not having them be in jeopardy. And Batman just punches Bane and says, Damien, take Bane back to Arkham, and that's just kind of that dealt with. Meanwhile, Jason and Dick are with the Joker. Joker's got them at gunpoint, and
he also has braces now because Batman reset his jaw.
That's right, yes. And Dick dives at Jason to save him from gunfire, and they go out the lighthouse into the water. So there's a whole, spectacle there of them being in danger, and Batman's worried about them and whatnot. But I think for me, where the writing really started to annoy me is Batman's like investigating, like where Hush has been hiding out, and he finds like all these models and like almost like board game pieces of like Batman and like the various characters, and he's like, okay, what have I stumbled into? Or did he want me to find this? And when you have the main character starting to question, did the villain want me to find this? Like, it just, I don't know, it's just so cliched that I just stopped giving a crap.
Yeah.
So that was my first big problem with the writing. The other big problem I had with the writing is I do like Batgirl, like Barbara Gordon showing up in Gordon's hospital room and him thinking it's Batman at first until she steps out of the shadows and it's like his daughter. I like that moment in theory. What I don't like is all of a sudden Barbara's just Jason Todd and he's like, why didn't you kill Joker, Bruce? We have to kill him now. He did this to my father. He did what he did to me. And just like Jason Todd feels like he was transported out at like 2006 or whenever it was, where he just came back and he was angry and he wanted the Joker dead. It feels like Barbara is now just like somehow she's simultaneously just after being paralyzed, but also after she got better. Like she's just both those things combined, and she's out for blood to the point where we end most of the back chunk of this issue is her and Batman fighting, where she's like, no, Batman, it's time to cross the line. We have to kill Joker. It's time to do what you can. And even her own dad's like, no, that'll make us this or that. And that's when we start getting flashbacks to goddamn Killing Joke, where Batman's picking up naked Gordon, and he's like, no, like we can't cross the line, Batman, blah, 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 blah. So I think it's like shameless references to classic stories that feel weird to reference at this point. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying you can't reference them at all. You can reference them in a way where it feels like, oh, this is a traumatic thing in the ancient history of the characters. But it's being referenced like it's still fresh in their heads. Like it's still like making them tick. Like Batgirl's still obsessed with what happened to her. Batgirl, Barbara Gordon, has had so many stories where she's had to encounter the Joker in some form or another over the past 20 years, that her attitude here just feels way out of character, and it feels just designed to have a fight with Batman so we can have this confrontation.
We're at the point where she's come to terms with it and that she was Oracle, and Bruce even brings it up here. She became more than Batgirl, right? She was Oracle. She was doing work for all of the heroes. Yeah. She even became bigger than Batman in that way. That's
the frustrating thing about this as well, is that it's not just that it feels out of character from a time perspective and all the things she's went through. It's dumbing her down. It's making her Jason Todd. Yeah. It's this anger just feels too dumb for Barbara. I don't like it.
And between this and then the three Jokers trying to tie them together because of the tragedy that happened at Joker's hands to them, it feels inauthentic and it feels forced.
Yeah.
Because Barbara and Jason are two different characters, right? There's nothing that ties them outside of working with Batman and having, again, tragedy at the Joker. And it was how they responded to it differently. And just this anger, like you pointed out, it's been done. It's been enough time. And even then, I don't feel like Barbara ever responded with that much anger towards the Joker.
No,
she's the type of person that takes it and is like, how can I be better?
Don't get me wrong, she was traumatized, and there's definitely been stories where like, oh, Joker shows up and she gets maybe a bit more of like a chill versus other villains because hey, Joker did this thing to her and made her feel weak or whatever, and like, there's reasons to do that. Also, when she's fighting Batman in the alley, she has Predator cloaking tech that she turns on, and I was laughing because I'm like, okay, I don't necessarily mind the idea of Batman or one of the Bat family having this tech because it actually seems like very useful to a stealthy Bat character. But this came so out of nowhere, and like, see if this like was initiated by her or Batman or whoever when they're like up in the rafters and they have to sneak in somewhere and like, oh, I've got some new tech that I've been experimenting with, and they click it on and we get Predator mode. I'd be like, that makes sense. It's kind of cool. Like, I'm down for this being something that he's got on the bat belt or whatever. But having it like be whipped out when she's already in the middle of a fight as if it's going to, like, I don't know. And then Batman starts like cycling visions, and he's cool, so we actually get like thermal vision, so he can see her. So it's almost immediately negated. Like it's like it's like 3 panels later, he's already negated it. I don't know. The whole thing just feels.
And we get it makes him look evil with the red eyes.
Yes.
Too. Like evil. So when this happened, I thought because of what he had found with Hush, right? There were these pieces, and they were set up almost like a chessboard, where each person had a dark side. Not a dark side. What was it? Like a dark counterpart. Like white and black on the chessboard or whatever. So I'm like, maybe this someone masquerading as Batgirl now, right? Because they're out of the. And no, it just ends up being Barbara, and she's upset because Bruce didn't kill Joker.
I think that's wishful thinking on your part, because I don't think there was ever even a moment where they were trying to suggest that it wasn't really her.
No, but I was just trying to tie that, like, okay, there's counterparts out there. Maybe there's, who knows what Hush has been up to. If this person has a cloaking device, maybe they're just looking like Barbara at this point.
Yeah. So the book just ends with the fight being interrupted, with Dick yelling, stop this fight right now or we'll stop you. And he's standing with Huntress, Damian, Catwoman, and Riddler. And I love how there's a question mark from Batman's narration of who is this? Because not only does it look like a really weird version of Riddler, it doesn't even look like the one that was in this book, like 2 issues ago. Because he looked like Cable. No. Maybe it's just a hood, but I can see a couple of pouches on his belt, but he looks so different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So he's confused. Real quick, I just want to point out there's a Mighty Crabjoy's sign behind Catwoman.
Oh, very nice.
And Damian, which I like, which again...
Are we adding this to... I mean, I'm assuming that was new for the movie. Are we adding this to the list of fictional things that DC... You know how we have Big Belly Burger, Jitters Coffee, Chocos? Are we adding Mighty Crabjoys as a fake band in the DCU?
I think we are now, because it's going to show back up in Superman. But there's a reason for that one. That I came across. But yeah, I just saw that. I didn't, when I was trying to rush through this. I didn't notice it till right now. I just want to point that out. Yeah, this was just, man, I don't care at this point. Like, I want to get to Matt Fraction so fast.
And we still have the lingering threat of, a couple of delayed issues, but also the second half of it coming at some point in some form. So,
yeah.
I mean, like, I'm here for the train wreck. I'll happily look at it just to talk about it, because it is easy to read if nothing else, but it's not good. It is a bad comic.
Well, this is the first time where I felt like there's nothing fun to talk about that much. You know what I mean? Because it is mostly Babs fighting Bruce, and that's not enjoyable. I will say, though, that Jim Lee's art looks pretty good. Like, it doesn't have that rush quality that I've come to expect with him. And even on the pages that, the pages where they're going through the memories, his style's a little bit, not sketchier. It's more like smudged, almost like Bruce is pulling these memories out, and all the the colors are different. It's flat blues, purples, red there at the bottom. So that was the high point in the issue for me was the art. But yeah, man, the fight. I'm just kind of over it. Also, where's Jason at the end here? We got Riddler, but we couldn't get Jason. He's still swimming somewhere outside the lighthouse.
Counterpoint, Matt. Who cares?
Yeah, I'm just saying. You're getting his allies together and you're bringing Riddler?
I don't know. Yeah, the art's all right. I mean, Jim Lee, like, depending on your taste, is either really good, all right, or just kind of mediocre. I kind of fall into he's all right. He has some pages, some panels that I quite like. He does feel quite old school. I definitely don't have the feelings towards the art that I do the writing. The writing just feels like it feels like, other than just some references to like modern continuity and characters that didn't exist back then, it feels like this is something that Jeph Loeb wrote like a year after Hush 1, and it's just been sitting there, and he's went back and he's like touched it up with a few things because of new continuity, but most of it feels like it was just written back in like 2008 or 9.
Pete, that's how much of a lead time Jim Lee needed to get them out on time.
I was going to joke, actually, because you said that it feels like it's less rushed. I was like, yeah, because he decided by this point the next 2 issues were going to be delayed, so he's got 2 months per issue now.
Yeah, so like, It's just dire. I read this and I was like, with each progressing issue is worse than the last. And like, it's not me just looking back at like, oh well, the first issue this wasn't bad, but because it's further away, there was like parts of the story that hadn't unveiled yet. So we were still looking at it through fresh eyes, and now I'm kind of like, it is what it is. And I hate just saying that, but it's not good. And I don't think it's ever going to be able to pull out of this nosedive, you know?
Nope, we're just here for the crash landing. Matt, what are you giving Batman 161?
No, I talked about how much I like the art, so I feel like I can't give it as low as a score as I thought about. So I'm going to give this a 4.5.
Yeah, the art's not bad. And it's definitely, like, I like, there's definitely worse, like, I've read worse books. So I think for me, I'm just going to go with the 4. I'm not going to go too, like, unbelievably harsh. It's just a bad book, and we'll leave it at that. All right, Superman 28, Legacy number 871. This is Joshua Williamson writing with Dan Mora on the art. There's that name. So the last time that name's coming up today either in the books. So yeah, so this was interesting. I was kind of dreading reading this because I forgot we're on a new arc. So I was thinking there was going to be more farm and graft, and then I got to the front of this book and I went, oh wait, no, we finished that arc. That shows you how memorable it was. So that's fun.
Darkseid's Legion. Yeah, just remember Farm and Graft got punched into eternity in their big super robot.
I'll take your word for it. I don't remember
it no more.
I got that thing. So the thing here, of course, is that we're doing Darkseid's Legion, as the title would suggest. So we're doing kind of our first crossover where characters from the Absolute Universe are sprinkling in to a story here. And I don't think this was too bad. Like, my hope getting into this was that because it's tied to the ongoing events and because someone else is like shepherding where this story's going overall, that it would kind of lock Williamson into not falling into Williamson traps. Now, he might still do that because, as we always say with Williamson, he takes a couple of issues before he starts to really disappoint us. But so far, I'm not mad at anything. I'll say that. The book starts with Clark going back home to Smallville to get his Legion ring, and he has a little sit down with Martha Kent, who gives him a little pep talk. He's talking about how his memories of the Legion and all that, and how this ties into that villain that showed up, Validus, during the special a few months ago, and he's sort of wanting to look into that, and that's why he's here for his ring. But when he goes out, say, to maybe travel to the future or to communicate with the Legion or whatever, the absolute Saturn girl shows up. And he's like, wait, Emra, what's up with you? You look different. And she kind of very quickly just says, oh, you're so different here. I don't know why my master fears you. And she very quickly says Darkseid. And immediately Superman's like, Darkseid? Darkseid was. And she's like, Darkseid is. Darkseid was. Darkseid is. Was. Yeah. I'm kidding, of course. But she starts talking. And she's like, hey, you've got mental blockers. Someone's trained you to resist telepathy. So on and so on. She mentions that Cosmic Boy and Lightning Lad are near. So the book does pull a twist because we basically get some bad stuff that happens where Lightning Lad and Cosmic Boy destroy the Watchtower with a bunch of heroes inside it. So immediately you're like, okay, either they teleported out at the last second or this isn't happening.
Well, then you have to remember what Saturn Girl's power is, right? And that was my tell. And I was like, they ain't going to kill Mr. Teriffic. They've had a good summer with him. So far, they ain't gonna unceremoniously pop his head between two. Well,
to be fair,
metal girders.
The whole point though of that first page with Saturn Girl was to try and convince you that her power wasn't working on Superman. So they were trying to lull you into it. But as soon as like heroes started dying, it was like, okay, clearly there's something here. So Superman, flies around, tries to go up and stop them. He's all angry because he thinks a bunch of people have died. And then, of course, the threats to Martha start happening. Of course, Saturn Girl says she's going to go after Martha, and she kind of looks into his head and sees, like, some of the history here. She sees him with Lois, the young John Ken, and just a bunch of stuff and whatnot.
This is some of I like. I don't want to say some of Mora's best work because Mora's always good. Just the chaos of like it looks like ink blots, right? Through this double page spread.
Yeah.
As Superman and Evil Saturn Girl are walking through. It kind of hits that Darkseid is, and again, I just call it chaos.
It's kind of like
these.
that Darkseid crack that's been left ever since it disappeared. That's kind of ink blotty. So I think it's kind of fitting into that style.
It goes with that, and just the way that it works its way across, right? And there's as they're talking about the Legion, and then like his friends, right? When it's talking about his friends in Smallville that aren't the Legion, it almost makes a Legion L in the negative space, right? There, which I think is a nice little tie. But yeah, Mora's really working on this page, because if you look through, there's some really big moments throughout Clark's history represented here. And they all feel like not equally big, but they feel important because they are here. They're almost like his tethers to Superman. So I like that's what they're kind of trying to attack.
Yeah, I do kind of like that we haven't really seen Darkseid yet since the Absolute Universe has been created. Although that's technically not true for all of this week, but more on that later. But when I read this, I hadn't seen him yet, and I kind of like this idea of just these characters being like, oh, why does our super Darkseid leader fear you? But we know why he fears Superman, because we've been reading DC Comics for years. But like to this Saturn girl, it's kind of like baffling. So anyway, Time Trapper, Future Doomsday, shows up and kind of breaks the spell from her and him, and grabs Superman and fades away with him to the future or somewhere. And she's pissed as she's like smashing up the ground, and that's when we just get no narration box, no narration bubble, or like, it's just text on its own. The voice, and it's very omnipotent. It sounds like, like the cosmic horror, like God talking to the character.
It's everywhere.
Yeah. And you just like, you were not meant to engage with Superman. You disobeyed me, Saturn Girl. You will return to me. You will gather my legion. There is another that could endanger my plans, one that you must protect. So that's an interesting tease in and of itself. So I'm curious to see what that's building to.
And then he drags her to hell.
So that's what it looks like. So we see kind of like Superman and Time Trapper kind of floating in the time stream, and Time Trapper's like, I don't care about your stupid adoptive mother or anything, we have to save the future. All of this is building to Darkseid's return. This is a big deal, big stuff's happening, and you need to be on board with this. I warned you. And when they come out of the time stream, right, or wherever, they seem to be in Smallville. But it's like, it looks like more old school, it looks like things are different. And the big reveal at the end of this, we hear a voice coming from off panel, and the final page. Well, I'll phrase it. There was a time way back at the start of this podcast when there was like a second Clark Kent, and there was a lot of theorizing about who that second Clark could be. And one of the running jokes on this show is that it was Prime Time. Meaning that we thought that possibly that second Clark was Superboy Prime. It only took 467 episodes to finally get to Superboy Prime's return, but here he is.
Look, I'm going to keep an open mind, okay? I didn't hate Superboy Prime originally, all right? It was just from years of misuse and him being a super whiny. It's not my hero. He kind of became internet fandom personified in parts.
He's been reformed.
Was not expecting him to show up here. Right? We get to the Smallville, and I'm just like, are they introducing a different version of Clark, right? This almost ultra good, like he was only here, right? Are we getting a Superman and Superboy team up? Because Time Trapper / Doomsday says that he created this pocket dimension for this specialized Superboy. And that's where Prime did not cross my brain at all. So when I turned that page when it was like, sup, you old fart, and I was like, what voice is that in? And then you turn it and it's him. I'm like, God. And I like the newer suit. It's not quite the, evil, him wearing the anti-monitor kind of armor, but he's got the big shoulder pads. Like he's going to go play some football.
He says, you ready to kill some nerds? And then we get meta at the bottom where he's like, Oh yeah, I'm back again, dear readers. You better be here next month to watch me save Superman, the Legion of Superheroes. I smell an event coming, so, you know, meta and stuff. So,
all right, let's strap in, because from my time as a huge Jeph Johns fan, there was the Legion of Three Worlds. All right, did you read Legion of Three Worlds?
I did not.
Pete? So, Legend of Three Worlds came up during Final Crisis, and it was essentially Jeff's way of bringing back Impulse and Superboy. Along the way, you find out that the Legion is fighting across 3 different timelines, right? So you have the Legion Prime, which is what we're dealing with here. We have the 3-Boot Legion, which was Mark Waid's from when I started reading comics, 20 years ago. And then the 3rd Legion was the Legion Lost from the 80s through the 90s, So where XS, the Speedster, comes from, all this other stuff. And they all come together to fight the Time Trapper, because the Time Trapper is trying to write them all out of existence. And when the hood is revealed of who Time Trapper is, it is Superboy Prime, right? So the fact here that we have Williamson, and I know Williamson's a Johns fan. He was handpicked by Johns, right? So the fact that we have Time Trapper Doomsday coming here to this pocket dimension he's helped create to have Superboy Prime, right? There's this long tie there that I, as a long-term comic reader, really appreciate. However, if you are a new comic reader, none of that stuff matters, right? Now you just have the Superboy Prime, and it works because of Time Trapper, whatever, Legion, all the shenanigans that we've read in the last year, But that was where my brain immediately went when I turned the page and saw him and went, oh my God, this is the Time Trapper stuff coming back around. And I kind of like it. It's very, very smart writing. It hits my niche of, it's not quite nostalgic, but it is referencing old continuity type stuff in a fun way. And Doomsday Time Trapper has kind of grown on me. Him and his chains and his hood and his kind of anti-hero, vibe. He needs to save the universe because he wants to become god of the universe.
Honestly, so, that green hood makes me want to call him Dr. Doomsday.
It's not green though, so it's red. But
wasn't it green? He's worn a green hood at some point, is he not?
I mean, as Doomsday, he wore the greenish suit, right? But no, the hood's always been that purple robe. I mean, that's key with Time Trapper.
Is it purple?
Because that was the thing. As far as I knew, they never revealed Time Trapper's face. Time Trapper was just a cloaked figure that the Legion fought. So when Johns made it that it's Superboy Prime, that was a huge, big reveal. And yeah, so here that he's Doomsday now, and he's got the chains and the slim down Doomsday, and he's been popping up in all the books. I feel like DC's just worn me down, and I'm just like, you know what? I kind of like this guy, so I'm expecting him to die in a horrendous fashion come KO.
What if he wins, Matt? What if he becomes the god of the absolute universe?
But I mean, in the long term, I know you said that as a joke. In the long term, that makes sense. If we're going to keep the absolute universe around, it goes from it being shaped by Darkseid to shaped by this new Doomsday, who's, rough around the edges, for lack of a better term.
Oh, I meant Superboy Prime. Not Darkseid.
Oh.
Or the Doomsday, rather.
Oh, no, Superboy Prime. If Superboy Prime had an issue with the 2000s heroes not being heroes, that dude's going to hate the absolute universe. He wants Golden Age type stuff. He wants Superman helping old ladies across the street type stuff. But yeah, so this took me by surprise. I saw people online giving this like a lot of like accolades, like, oh my God, this is the most I've enjoyed Superman since Warworld. And I can understand where they're coming from, but it's still nothing's at that level, right? Like that's a generational type story. But from what we have had the past year on this book, with Dr. Farm and all that, Lex and his amnesia and Mercy's heel turn from nowhere, this was very, very solid Superman.
I mean, I don't even know if it's solid Superman per se. It was just entertaining because I'm invested in what's going on with the DC universe, and this is poking that forward a little bit. The actual Superman side of it is fine, but it's not like it's like blowing my socks off as a Superman story. It's just he happens to be the conduit for which we're learning a bit about Darkseid's Legion, and obviously Superboy Prime's kind of a big deal to reveal that, so we'll see where that goes.
Yeah.
But It's all right. I definitely didn't have a bad time. Obviously, Mora's art is very solid. He's not Mora.
Him, that first opening sequence, right, with Clark doing the superhero, where's my, there it is. With him doing the superhero-y stuff, I really liked the breakdowns, right? He's helping build, you know, the building, and then as Clark Kent, he's seeing some monster ravaging through. He saves, you know, the people from the bullets, and then he's visiting a sick kid in the hospital. It's all stuff that I want to see my Superman doing. You know, and Mora's art, just the way that it makes it feel. There's like an epic quality to him doing these humanistic tasks, right, to help out humanity. And then when you turn the page, you get that big double page spread of him soaring through the sky. And then the small panels of him going back to Smallville and his shoes and everything. It's just some really, really good looking Superman artwork.
Yeah. I mean, it's weird, though, because it's like, there's nothing special about those pages in the sense of the story, because it's like the plot's literally not started yet. This is just, you know, like almost any like start of any Superman arc could have started with these like 3 or 4 pages. You know, it's not specific to this.
These are ones that are drawn by Mora, and they look great. So I will take that. Also, the Mighty Crabjoys make an appearance again, except there's a poster that does not match any of the other Mighty Crabjoy stuff that we've seen thus far. And originally, Dan Mora had drawn it as a ripoff of Dragon Ball Z. It was called like Dragonstone, something along the lines. And if you look at the art, it looks like Goku riding a Triceratops or something. DC sent it back to him and was like, "We can't do this. We don't want to deal with the headache of dealing with, you know, Dragon Ball Z." So he made the decision to make it the Mighty Crabjoys, which I like. So if we keep getting these in the background, you know, as a band that's there, like you said, like Big Belly Burger and Jitter's Coffee and all that type of stuff, I'll be very pleased.
All right, what are you giving Superman?
I'm a straight 8. I thought this was really good.
I'll say 7. It was good. I wouldn't say it was great though. But I'm more interested in the larger stuff for the DCU that it's hinting at. Like the Saturn Girl and Darkseid conversation was by far the most excited I got.
Yeah, that took me by surprise. Just the big omniscient voice coming through. That was super cool.
Yeah. All right. Absolute Wonder Woman issue 10. Kelly Thompson writing with Hayden Sherman on the art. So, Wonder Woman's in the maze below Area 41. She's met Ferdinand. She's met this, was it Petra, the name of the siren?
Yep, siren.
Yep, and then we've got obviously this, was it Sela? Is the Queen, was it Sela? I think it was Sela, something like that.
I'm pulling up Absolute Wonder Woman on here. Anyways, she's that Queen, Clea. No, it wasn't Sela. You got the letters right, just in the wrong order.
Close enough.
Yes.
Queen so yeah, so we get an action scene where she's fighting the Fishmen early on with Ferdinand. Layouts are obviously great from Sherman. Dig all that stuff. The big moment though comes when we get a full page spread of Ferdinand using himself as a shield to protect the others when they start firing arrows or whatever it is at them. And it's just this big sort of heroic sacrifice moment. Not that it kills him necessarily, but just this idea that he was willing to do this and says, "Hey, like, get her out of here. Like, promise me you'll protect her." So, you know, we get Wonder Woman running off, and like, I mean, even to the idea that when Ferdinand falls to the ground, Clea is like surprised and angry that the others aren't like there behind them. Like, you know, she's like mad that they got away. So. It's a really good, fun, action-packed kind of intro to the book, which is kind of in 3 parts because you've got the big extended section in the middle, which is the flashback and more of Diana's childhood and her encounter with the god or a goddess this one night where she like armors up for the first time and takes out the axe. And the god's presented as a giant panther that's got a face covered in blood.
Yes.
Which is a hell of a visual. I'll give it that.
It is metal as hell.
Yeah. And what's interesting here is that Diana is like, I'm not going to fight. Like, there's no reason to fight. Like, I'm not going to stoop to that. I'm better than that. Right?
Yeah, and this is, you gotta remember too, this is like, not toddler, but little kid Diana. that is sent out there with a helmet and an axe.
Like, what, 7 or 8 maybe? Is that kind of age we're thinking? Yeah.
And it's like
it's not until the Panther God. I'm not quite sure which god it's supposed to be off the top of my head, to be honest.
It's supposed to be Hecate. You find out at the end of the scene.
Right, okay,
it's Hecate.
Cool. So it's not until Hecate threatens a turtle that's like on a rock where Diana throws the axe in front and says, "Hey, you leave that turtle be." And like sort of stands her ground, and this is what makes her finally fight, is that she's not willing to let this turtle be harmed. And even says that, hey, yeah, lots of the creatures down here are kind of like inherently vicious to begin with because they don't know any better, but she can kind of like tame most of them and sort of like get to an understanding with them. So we get this insane fight scene where Panther Hecate is biting, and I thought, oh, is this how she loses an arm? Is this how we lose an arm? But she still got her arms at the end of the scene, like she still has them.
Yep.
So I want to point out a wonderful panel though, is after the fight's over and Cersei goes out to get her, there's a panel where you can just see in the mist the eyes of the panther, just like in like in the background, and it's just such an eerie shot. And Diana's on the ground holding the turtle, like she's successfully protected the turtle, but she's kind of hurt and scared. It's just a really strong moment. That's good stuff.
Yeah, I love how Diana's like, "You'd be proud, Mama. I did good," and then she holds up the turtle and it looks like the turtle's smiling. Says, "This is Nico," and it just drives the point that this Wonder Woman, despite being raised in hell with all these vicious creatures, she's not going to let an innocent creature get hurt. You know, she doesn't care if she has to fight a god and ward it off.
Actually,
that is what.
Isn't the god that Cersei speaks to in the next scene Hecate?
Yeah, I assume that was the same one because of the glowing eyes, right? Because she says you need to intercede with Artemis. So I'm assuming this was the test. Because they're priming her.
I didn't think this was the same god. I thought it was two different gods.
Yeah, says, "Please, Hecate, you must intercede with Artemis. She's just a child. If anything, it's too late. Everything we do is to fashion her into a weapon," which is...
I know this one's Hecate. I'm not arguing that. I'm saying that I don't think the Panther one's Hecate as well.
Now, just because it's not named, or what makes you think it's not?
Because there's nothing visually between the two of them that makes sense. That correlates them. I mean, the eyes are glowing, sure, but the eyes are a different shape. They're not exactly similar in any way.
On League of Comic Geeks, they usually have it listed on the characters, and the only god they have listed here is Hecate. I mean, they don't have the Panther listed. Maybe it is, but
I assumed it was two different gods. But the conversation that Cersei has with her, though, is very interesting. Yes. Because it's very much this idea that Diana was created and is being groomed to be this weapon, presumably against man's world. At least that's what I assumed based on what she said. This idea that, because Cersei's like, wait, if you want her to be this weapon, then why did you make her so kind? Why did you make her so, this, and this? And she's like, well, because they'll never expect it. They'll like trust her and they'll let her their guard down. It does almost feel like she's been kind of like bred for a bad purpose that I assume Diana herself is going to fight against once she realizes what that purpose is. Yeah, because that's who she is at her being, right? And it's like, she is just inherently good in a world that's not, which again is kind of Wonder Woman, her vibe, right? When she comes to man's world originally in the main continuity, it's a world that she's completely alien to because it's everything that she's not. And so here, the fact that she's being, primed for this, for sinister reasons, it feels like are the gods going to try to use her to overthrow like patriarchy, right? Like what's the deal here? Because we know that the Amazons are gone, and that was a word she wasn't allowed to say, right? Yeah, and obviously this isn't the first god that she's had an encounter with as a child, but this has been kind of a recurring thing. In fact, the name of this arc is like All of My Mothers or something like that, and it's kind of this implication that all of these like female gods are all, taking like their turn and like giving Diana some kind of lesson. Because remember, we had that great story where she went and helped the giant that was chained to the thingy. Prometheus. Prometheus, thank you. So no, I mean, there's some really interesting stuff here with like building her up as a character. And then we go back to the maze, and she actually gets Petra, the siren, out, and she noticed that like technically she should be really powerful and be able to use her voice to like, you know, deal with the bad guys, but she's not speaking, which suggests there's maybe something wrong with her. Whether that's physical or whatever, but she gets back to her portal and sends her back through. So Steve and the others are greeted with this woman, this blue woman walking through a portal and then collapsing in front of them. So they're very conflicted. But Diana doesn't go through. Diana's like, no, I promise, I'm going to go and get Ferdinand. I'm rescuing him too. Like I'm not done.
I'm a woman of my word. I'm gonna save everybody. Yeah.
So she uses a bit more magic to try and sort of like find her way, and leads her way back to Clea here. And the art gets kind of trippy here. It gets very kind of psychedelic, because she's seeing the world in this very different. Well, it's not even just her stuff. It's she's been drugged. There's a
haze coming up to the floor of the labyrinth, and she walks through it and starts tripping balls.
Pretty much, yeah, but she still sort of finds her way to Clea and co. So we get so you know, Sherman's really playing with the layouts and some of this trippier stuff where there's a lot of circles, lots of curves, that kind of thing. Well, the big cliffhanger.
All the fishmen are like falling apart, looking like they're like wispy.
Yeah.
Instead of having a more solid form.
And the cliffhanger, and she's still kind of out of it because she can't really make sense of what the creature's saying. But Clea sends in some sort of flame being to fight her, who may or may not be someone that we could guess. I don't know, but it's not visually immediately striking me as that's definitely this character.
They have they're a fire-looking being, right? We're getting the orange with a hammer.
Is it possible it's the blacksmith?
That's
character?
what I was thinking. Yeah. Why am I drawing a blank on his name? Aphrodite's husband, Hephaestus. There we go. That's the one. Had to go through. I don't know if she would have a god chain down there, so maybe it's somebody associated with Hephaestus, right? But there's a scientist down there that Clea has, and she kicks them down the well, knowing that Diana's going to go after him, and that's how she ends up in this pit against this fire creature. And Sherman drawing a hazy Diana here, where her eyes are barely open. It's really, really getting through the fact that she's not at 100%.
Yeah, even the lettering adds to that, because the lettering's like repeating letters, and it's all kind of wavy and whatnot. Yeah. So no, this book continues to be great. Layouts are really solid. I really appreciate like the different types of layouts depending on the scene. So most of the stuff in the maze, at least before she gets drugged, there's a lot of like, you know, straight lines. There's a lot of like angled panels that feel like they're cut out of paper or something like that. But then when you get to the flashback, all of a sudden you've got a lot of rounded edges. You've got some more kind of creative layouts that feel a bit more flowy, but they're very different to the curves and the trippiness of the later stuff after she gets dosed with the drugs.
Because the flashback ones are very ordered, right? When you get to the fight with the Panther, you can still follow it sequentially. Yet when you get to the psychedelic stuff, they all kind of blend into each other, and the perspectives are off. Like the first page, it's full of her in that state. It's her in the circle, and it's almost like a fisheye kind of effect.
Yeah.
And it's very disorienting, and so it's added a different level to this labyrinth that we were so used to having the straight angles and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Just again, Hayden Sherman is my favorite current artist working at DC. Between this and Dark Patterns, just constantly, and neither of the books are similar, right? Like the layouts on both are unique to their books. So just really, really good work across the board from Hayden Sherman.
A lot of effort goes in from Sherman to make sure that different places or different moods feel different because of the layouts before we even get to what the actual art like is doing in terms of the the faces and like the performances, if you want to call them that. So now, very good. What are you giving Absolute Wonder Woman, Matt?
I'm giving this do I give it a 9? I'll dial it back. I'll give it an 8.5.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with just a straight 8 on this one. Really liked it still. Great stuff. I'm loving the backstory that they're building up, and I like the sort of heroic sacrifice of Ferdinand and Diana's determination to go back and save him. Love all that stuff.
real quick. I know we shouldn't be doing this other. Do we think now? I just had this thought because of all the other Darkseid stuff. Do we think she is meant to be the weapon against Darkseid? That the gods are coming together? Because she's everything anti-life is not.
It's possible, yeah. She could be
right?
she could be. Oh, I don't know though. Well, maybe, yeah, maybe, because like as much as Hecate said, like she's going into like their world. Technically, man's world in the absolute universe is Darkseid's world, if you want to look at it that way. So that would work, I suppose.
I just had a thought with all the other Darkseid stuff this week.
It makes more sense. It makes more sense than any of the other absolute characters, I think, right now.
And with the way that her characterization here, it's very much in line with Superman. That when we come to this kind of outsider perspective, raised by she is who she is because of how she was raised in a way. And if Superman in the main continuity is supposed to be the opposite of Darkseid, what if the absolute version is Wonder Woman, where she's kind of in that Superman role there? Just great stuff. I love this book so much.
Yeah. Absolute Martian Manhunter issue 5, Deniz Camp, writing with Javier Rodríguez on the R. So the world, I think it's the whole world, but at the very least the city is plunged into darkness because the Waid Martians' plans have taken off. And as per usual,
stole the sun.
Yeah, as per usual with this book, it presents like just people being absolutely darkly vicious in ways that are like we've had people getting set on fire, murders, all that kind of stuff. This issue starts with a page. Now you don't get the full context of all of it until later, but it shows you 3 different villains or people who are affected with the Waid Martians' influence at the start. One is breaking up little bits of glass to cook with it, right, to put it in food. Someone else in a gas mask has got a bar of chocos, who we later find out is injecting stuff into them. What they're injecting, who knows, but it's probably bad. And then
it ain't good.
A guy who's in a sort of, I was going to say, it's kind of like a biker jacket, but it's got a clown in the back, so I don't even know if it is a biker jacket, but...
No, he's definitely greaser coated. From the boots up to the leather jacket, it just has a clown on the back.
But he's killing dogs. He's killing dogs, and the transition from that to the next page is that our main character, John, is talking to a woman about her dog going missing, and there's just a shadow of it left on the ground with a blood splatter next to it. And that sets up the other main thing in this issue. So the 2 big things going on is that this eternal blackout is making people go kind of loopy, right? And like more crimes are happening, people are doing bad things. But the other thing that's happening is that people's shadows are kind of like becoming their own thing and are doing their own thing. Some are working with the people that they're attached to. Some are becoming antagonists to the people they're attached to. And we see like even on this page here where this woman's shadow is picking up the shadow of the dog that's been left behind, like almost like nuclear bomb style. But she's crying in the foreground, so it sets up that there's kind of this disconnect between the people in the shadows, and it shows this in such an inventive way throughout the book, where on the next page is like John and Jean are driving through the city. You see a guy who's looted like a mannequin from a clothing store, but his shadow's like sort of helping like hold up the back of it, so it's like 2 people carrying something, and it's like really weird. And given that this book started with this whole idea of the Martians being like this, like almost like non-corporeal being that's inside someone's head, like a second personality, the fact that we're getting to this point where everyone in the city has a second shadow form that's like interacting with them is kind of thematically consistent with what this book's been doing since the start.
Yeah, so I've been through some therapy sessions, and in there you learn about your shadow self, and it's this, from Carl Jung, psychology, and it's essentially, it's not like the negative side of you, it's the stuff that you hide from everybody. It's your shadow. And so when you're doing shadow work, you try to reveal that stuff and why you're hiding it, and so here it's like these are people's shadows going completely haywire because now they don't have to be hidden, right? It's almost these deepest desires. So when we see the guy looting, it's finally, he's like given permission to steal. Right now, his shadow's helping him, or all the teenagers stealing stuff and burning it. right? Just causing mass chaos.
It's so funny though, because that's obviously what it represents, is the idea of people let the dark side out because they don't think they can be seen, right? That's kind of what it's going for. But it's manifesting in this weird physical way where the shadow's a separate entity who's literally helping them carry things. It's just really, and there's some people who are arguing with their shadow. We see one guy who's like waving his finger at his shadow, and it's like a whole thing. But yeah, we get this whole like thing throughout the first several pages of explaining kind of the status quo and this gang that kind of worships the light. That so they've got like little torches on their scooters and stuff.
It reminded me of that scene in Batman Forever when Robin steals the Batmobile and he goes to the neon gang. Yeah, it kind of reminded me of them, but they're riding scooters, right? But yeah. Yeah.
So John's wife is still estranged from him, doesn't want him to be around, and she's just sitting with a shotgun with their son inside their house. But he has the Martian go up and check on her just to make sure she's okay. He kind of admits that she's good at taking care of herself, but he wants her to be checked on anyway, so the Martian's the one looking in. Which I thought was kind of oddly sweet, actually. And the natural light coming off all these like fireflies that are like flying around them felt very different to all the artificial light that other people are using throughout the the streets and stuff that we've been seeing. So yeah, we come back to some of these earlier characters. The woman who was breaking up glass with a rolling pin is putting it into some cheeseburgers, and it's just lucky that John was going past this place and the Martian's powers kind of sensed that something was afoot. So he comes running in and tells them to not. And there's a great panel here when this woman who's been kind of affected by whatever is going on bolts out the building. Yeah. There's a panel where John's chasing her, and you've got the multicolored smoke coming out of her ears to kind of imply that the Martian's powers are detecting what she's been doing. But you've also got the shadow of her running down the opposite end of the alley, and the Martian is the shadow chasing the shadow. So it's really sort of showing you that idea of like the Martian's been the shadow to John this entire book, and they're kind of like teaming up now to take on the different entities. One's taking on the physical, one's taking on the shadow form. Such a cool, the art in this book has been so creative and how it like gets these ideas across. It's not that it's doing. It's not that it's not pretty, but it's not like other comics where like, oh, this is just so gorgeous and we have to talk about how much detail there is. This is getting across complex. It's almost David Lynch ideas in its art style with how it presents things.
One of the first things you learn in film school is that film is collaborative, right? Like the director works with the actors, works with the cinematographer, works with the editor. And I feel like the best comics always come off as collaborative. And I feel like all of our favorite writers work really well with our favorite artists because of that. So I feel like Fernandez here has... Fernandez, I always mess this up. Is it Rodríguez? Rodríguez. Rodríguez, I feel like, is inputting just as much as Dennis Camp is, right? To make this happen. And just the color work here, like that scene that you're talking about, when he busts into the diner and it's the soft blues with the purples and the oranges, right? So that makes the rainbows coming out of the ear, the rainbow smoke, really pop against the rest of it. And it really draws your eye to that. So then when you get to the bottom of the page and it's just the blue with the shadows, you really notice the shadows.
It's also
going the opposite direction.
It's got that Francavilla color scheme as well, where it's just blues and oranges for the most part on that page, except for that the multicolor smoke, which was obviously a recurring thing. So we've got that. We've got the choco bars. This kid wants choco bars, and then we see like this mad scientist, whoever he is, injecting with poison. And they do a whole thing here where he's walking into the store, but John kind of knocks him out of his hand on the way out and chases him. But this child who wanted one picks one up off the ground. So we're kind of left hanging as if this, does this kid eat this and die? We don't actually know. It's kind of left lingering.
That's his son, too.
No, it's not.
That's Tyler.
Is it?
Yes, it is. He's got the orange hair and everything.
Oh, it should just call him Tyler. You're right. Okay, I didn't think it was the mother and son. Very good.
That's the only way I picked it up because of she called him his name. And then I looked, I was like, oh, he does have orange hair, doesn't he?
Yeah, I just thought it was a random, woman and son. I didn't think it was like his family. That's interesting. Yeah. So that's even more creepy then. But you get a bunch of other stuff where they're looking into various buildings and there's just bad things happening, people scared. And then ultimately an ambulance runs John down in the street. And he goes flying into the wall. So you get this whole thing here where like the Martian's kind of separated from him. He's down on the ground, and it's actually, more people with these clown jackets getting out who want to come over and amputate him. They're talking like the doctors, but they're not really. And John even says, "Are you a doctor?" And he's like, "I've got no idea."
How the hell should I know?
So very, very kind of sort of disorientating and creepy. So he's very vulnerable here, and it's almost like the Martian's in this black void trying to climb back to him to help him. So very, very good in that sense. But yeah, the cliffhangers as we get towards the end of the issue are kind of wild. So one is that there's a knock at the door where the wife is, and the kid's asleep on the couch, and she looks very and that's a great panel where the knock's inside her head, so you can sort of get this idea of like, it's almost like, when you get like startled by a knock at the door and it obviously stings into your ear. This kind of like gives you that vibe because it's literally in her head and her eyes looking over. So it's a really good piece of art in that sense. However, the Martian, as he's crawling looking for like what's going on and maybe try to get back to John, he kind of follows a lead. He kind of sees something weird and cosmic happening. We see it reflected in his eye. So John's in trouble because this idiot with a buzzsaw is about to cut into him. So we'll see how that wraps up next time. But the big cliffhanger with the Martian is that he kind of like sees what's happening to the world, and he kind of like looks up, and whether or not this is like the White Martian's working with them, or it's like a separate thing, and the like White Martian's just a part of the chaos that's happening that's feeding into what he's doing. But he's, for the first time in the Absolute Universe, we see Darkseid. Darkseid's first real appearance here is, unless I'm forgetting something, is in Absolute Martian Manhunter, and it's almost like all of the worlds, which are made up of these like colors that have been in the smoke, I guess representing the idea, it's the ID of the worlds, are all like floating towards Darkseid's hands, and like his white hands are kind of consuming them. And it's almost like Darkseid's like sucking in like everything in the universe because it's all fueling Darkseid. And it makes me wonder if like part of like Darkseid's big return is that he's eventually going to consume the entire Absolute Universe and it's going to fuel him. And like this is something that the Martian Manhunter stumbled onto and is seeing what the root cause of what the White Martian's doing is. Now, is the White Martian working for Darkseid? Is the White Martian just part of this universe that is inherently feeding into what Darkseid is? I don't know the answer to that, but this was a hell of a visual. And it took me a second as well where I'm like, who's this? And I'm like, wait, is that Darkseid?
Well, because I looked at the face and I was like, that's not a White Martian. It's not white, right?
Yeah.
And then I looked and I saw the forehead and it clicked. And I was like, oh, man. And then even the like, he has like the pits on him that are putting up that red smoke.
Yeah, do you know what it almost felt like to me? It felt like he's consuming all of these worlds that are full of different colors, and whatever he's doing, like it's just coming out red. It's almost like he's expelling just red. It's almost like he's turning it all just into hate or anger or whatever.
It's the Omega Force, right? It's whatever he's using to fuel this universe. Because when the Manhunter gets knocked through this, or the Martian gets through, he says it has something to do, where was it? Before light, pre-creation, it was, right? And the narration comes in that's different from what the Martian's saying. It says the White Martian has trapped trapped us all. So I'm wondering what this has to do with the White Martian. Is he being able to essentially exploit the fact that Darkseid's doing all of this, right? And through this, it's feeding the White Martian. Like, just the whole premise of Darkseid is, and the anti-life is kind of fueling what the White Martian is doing. And now they're kind of trapped in this kind of reverb echo, right? And it's this that, by, like you said, almost by accident, the Martian has found that Darkseid is the point of creation for this universe. And he calls it, the obscene dreamer, creation's burning tiger force, the cosmic secret origin. Right? Yeah. And
it's interesting because it's almost like he's discovering that creation itself is flawed because this entity's at the center of it. It's not like something good. And I especially like, in that last page, after we get that full page spread, John lying there about to be cut into mumbles Darkseid is. It's this idea that, the Martian is still inside him. He's still connected to him. So he's mumbling this. as the Martians, like sort of seeing inside the universe or whatever, however you want to phrase it. Like, is it? I mean, it's a kind of metaphysical to actually describe what's going on here. But hell of a cliffhanger.
Yeah,
Didn't see it coming.
And the way that he says it as Darkseid, it merges it with this whole concept of the shadow self, right? Of the dark side of your being.
It's also upside down, as we should probably mention that as well.
And it's upside down. And then the Martian says beginning, end, everything, right? So that's a whole vibe that we get that again, like we did in Superman.
That was the thing that made me feel like this is like, whatever Darkseid's doing is going to ultimately destroy the absolute universe if he's not stopped. Is this idea it's the start of the apocalypse. But I like that read on the Darkseid is though this idea that it's hyphenated because like these shadows represent everyone's dark side. So that's kind of what's happening here. I would never have predicted that Absolute Martian Manhunter would have started feeding into the Darkseid stuff before anything else really did from the Absolute side, but I'm pleasantly surprised, and it fits so well thematically into everything that it's been doing that it feels so natural.
Yeah, it doesn't feel forced. It felt like even if this was just a miniseries, this was the first breadcrumb that was dropped, was through Martian Manhunter because of what they're exploring.
This would have been the penultimate issue had it only been 6. Now, maybe they've rejiggered things a little because they knew they were getting more at a certain point, but you could see the next one being the last one and it being, wrapped up quickly. But obviously, I'm glad that they're getting 12 issues to really flesh this out.
Well, and we keep talking about the cosmic horror of Darkseid. This really hits that as like that version of Darkseid is something that we're not meant to see, right? And it would make the normal brain go insane. But to the Martian, right? This is the type of stuff that he's meant to see, I
don't even know if he is meant to see it. Like, it feels like he, gets to it.
Yeah, but he's able to perceive it in a way that we wouldn't be. What I mean?
But I don't think he's meant to see it though. Is what No. I misspoke. I meant perceived, right? Because that whole thing in cosmic horror that you cannot perceive the old gods, right? That these are beyond description or whatever, and that's what drives humans mad. Is here. It's kind of that version of Darkseid, and it's through the Martian that we're able to see it. So just again another solid outing from Deniz Camp. Yeah, it's excellent
Javier
stuff. It was such a surprise when it started. I didn't really know Deniz Camp's game. I was unfamiliar with it, but I apologize for that. Matt, what are you giving Absolute Martian Manhunter issue 5?
I'm gonna give this a 9. This was really good.
Yeah, I gotta agree. I'm even tempted to go 9.5. I'll stay with a 9, but like I'm even tempted to nudge it a bit higher. Spectacular stuff. Really tough to fault. So awesome. Green Lantern issue 25, Legacy number 592. Jeremy Adams writing with Xermanico on the art. So this was a little oversized, I think. It didn't feel particularly long or anything, but I think it was a few extra pages. So yeah, this is kind of the start of the next big arc that we've been building up to. Now, it does kind of recap things a little bit. You've got like a scene at the start with the Guardians basically just like talking to each other, explaining stuff. And I think the hope here is that when they do like a hardcover of this like crossover, it can be read on its own. Even though I do think the build up of like the last arc of both Green Lantern and Green Lantern Corps is pretty, if not essential, then certainly very recommended to understand like the stakes here and everything that's going on. Especially since the second page is Ellie inside Kelly's head, trying to go through that door. So it's feeding on stuff that's been in both books up until this point, very much, and she kind of keeps trying to do that throughout the issue in the background. So yeah, we see that they've built these power batteries, and they've sort of built them in this sort of circle around the green one. So we've actually got this thing now on Oa where we've got all the power batteries sort of together. And they mentioned that they're not going to ignite the loved one because something's different about that. Something to do with Carol, and she's like, hey, everything's been acting normal with the love stuff, so they're not going to ignite that one. But the sort of the part we're at now is like, okay, how do we light these lanterns up? How do we turn these into the actual power batteries? For all these various forces. Now, part of it involves Kyle, because he's a White Lantern and he can like channel.
And he's the torchbearer.
Yeah, he can channel all of them, so he can sort of like give them all a kickstart. But part of it also is that they need special crystals that can like focus it or something. Yeah, MacGuffin. We need a MacGuffin. So
Pete, this is gonna infuriate you because it's Star Wars lore, but they're essentially kyber crystals. So it focuses the energy through the lightsaber to turn it into hard material that you can clang against each other and save the day.
Quiet, Matt. I do not care. So yes, but Starbreaker and his group, and he's got a lot of people who are not corporeal to be in his core, quote unquote. But once the lantern is lit up, they should all get powers, basically. He's got his battery ready. They're going to turn that bad boy on. So there's kind of a race to like, okay, who's going to get their batteries on first? So Hal and Carol, along with Kilowog and Guy, go to Gem World because that's where they can find these crystals. And basically, there's a dragon protecting these crystals. So yeah, they have a bit of a kerfuffle. That's kind of the main plot. There's also a bit more of a follow up to the Kyle and Co story where they found Aya, who's an animated series character, and they kind of set up the idea that her and Razor, who's the other animated series character, are romantically involved with each other. So they have like a sort of touching reunion later on where they see each other and they're all like, "Oh my God, you're alive!" So yeah, that's playing out. We get the dragon stuff. Which is fine. This is a couple of funny Guy lines and whatnot.
Yeah, this is what I love with Guy is like they're like, well, we got to go in there and get him. Guy, why don't you go? And he's the only one that's foolhardy enough to steal from a dragon, which I love. And it's it's Jeremy Adams playing with those like fantasy elements here, right? And then the dragon comes out and they gotta harness the dragon. But then the Starbreaker Corps show up because they want the crystals too.
Yeah. Also, the dragon has a name. The dragon's called Henry. So there's a bit where he's like, nice Henry.
Don't. Yeah.
Yeah. So, the way they show up, though, of course, is that they start, Guy starts feeling sad and is like, wait a minute, I know what this feeling is. And then, of course, the Sorrow Lantern's there.
Yep.
So there's a bit of a confrontation. The bad guys get away with 2 of the crystals, but they still have 1. So it's like, hey, hopefully 1's enough. However, it seems like the Entropy Lantern does like ignite their lantern in time because the big ending to this issue that's leading us into the rest of the plot is that when that lantern comes on, it spreads entropy throughout the universe, and the final page, it's a really nice touch in the art, is that the colors become very muted. And all of a sudden, like Razor and Aya, who were like really happy to see each other just like seconds ago, are like, I don't feel anything. So it's like all the colors, like it's not quite black and white, but it's like almost black and white. Like all of the greens incredibly toned down. So it's a good cliffhanger. I don't know if the adventure in Gem World was like my favorite thing in the world because Gem World kind of sucks, but I like this cliffhanger. I also like the tease as well with Kelly and Helly, where Kelly's like almost getting through the door and all of a sudden this bubble off panel says, "You're not supposed to be here." And just before the entropy energy hits everyone, Helly saying to Kelly, "Hey, that glove's not what you think it is. You need to take it off before," and then they get interrupted with everything happening. So yeah, big stuff. So I'm like, okay, what's going on with Kelly? Her backstory is very interesting all of a sudden. Who's in there that's not supposed to be in there?
Which I feel like this is where why am I drawing a blank on the writer? Adams. That's where Jeremy Adams really excels, where he takes like a little seed of Teen Lantern, right? And now he's being able to expound in a way that Bendis didn't get to on what's going on with Kelly. Because we have that whole locked door in her brain, and her origin's not what we think it was. Not what we were told it was early on.
I mean, it's not what she thinks it is either, by the sounds of it.
Right, but we had gotten that from Bendis, right, in those pages of Young Justice about how she had built this glove from the alien that had come down and whatever. But it's not. That's
my point. Is clearly her origin is not what she thinks it is. Like she,
right? But it's also what we don't, at the same time.
Well, yeah, obviously, but like Matt, the point I'm making is that she's like us. She has been lied to in her own head. She doesn't know what her origin actually is, and that's what we're building up to here. Not that I think that Bendis had any of this planned. I'm fully of the opinion at this point that Bendis either had a plan and didn't just never get around to it, or just didn't know what he was doing with her. And it's just lucky that Adams is actually trying to do something interesting with it, and will maybe, I assume the end of her story in this arc, or sometime down the line in this run, will be that she gets to keep the glove because she's going to take control of it somehow, but she'll have to like beat back whatever malicious entities inside her brain, kind of thing. And it also looks like Heli is maybe erased for the time being with this entropy energy, because it looks like she's getting blown away when this blast hits them.
Yeah, like she's being like erased almost. Like
which kind of makes sense, I guess, because if this entropy energy like supersedes all the others, because it's because
she's pure will.
Yeah, she's pure willpower. She was made with a ring, so it makes sense that she would maybe disappear.
Just the tension on that last page with Xermanico, with those little, they're like, they're smaller panels, but they're almost like sliced, like in this half circle, right? The way that they're doing, and just the way that it's paced out, it's very cinematic. I can see it playing out like in a movie, and just the way that he leaves Razor and Aya at the bottom of that page. When you get back to them, they're apart. They're further apart than they were on the page before. Just some really good visual storytelling.
Yeah, it makes me wonder as well if like next issue or two, we're going to get a lot of this very muted color palette, which is a good idea, but it does mean that whenever there's a burst of actual color again, it's going to really hit hard. So I see potential in what they're doing here with the art for this this story, and this is the start of this arc. So yeah, it makes sense that the cliffhanger to this first part is going to be the villains win because we have to like have them fight through something and ultimately succeed. So yeah, makes sense.
And it's the the Starbreaker core are all those fractured emotions. So we saw, what was it, jealousy, envy, and disgust as well coming through. So I kind of like the fact that it's not just the typical colors, right? We're getting these new versions that are like the in-between emotions there. And that's what Starbreaker's bringing.
I wonder, or not wonder, but I'm kind of glad this is crossing over between the two books, because it means the next part's not, like this is going to go fairly quickly because it's going to be twice a month with the two books. So that's kind of cool. Very, very coherent. These two books are right now, and really enjoyable. So, all right, what are you giving Green Lantern?
I'm gonna give it a 7.5.
I agree. I think if it wasn't like a MacGuffin chase in Gem World, I would probably be even higher on it. But I do really like the cliffhanger. I like the tease with Kelly, and I like kind of that it's playing off things that have been happening in both books. Like I think there's a lot of really nice things to like here. I think Jeremy Adams' run sometimes feels more like, it's less that individual issues are amazing. It's more the sum of it feels quite nice as a whole as a series, and I think this issue definitely feels into that to me. So cool. Justice League Unlimited issue 9. Mark Waid writing with Dan Mora on the art. So yeah, more Dan Mora somehow, but here we are.
Doesn't make sense.
I mean, you're probably right in that sense. I just, there's a lot of characters, there's a lot of things happening, but somehow not that much happening at the same time. It's just it's the Mark Waid, the mediocre Mark Waid special. When Mark Waid's out firing on all cylinders, he's amazing. This is mediocre Mark Waid, where there's just tons of characters. Because we're doing this thing where the time displaced people are just randomly like going away and going back to their own time, but they're being replaced with other time displaced people. It's just an excuse for a rotating door of cameos of various characters, And of course we get like Hal talking to Abin Sur, and we get the panel flashback of dying Abin Sur, because we always have to do that. But Time Trapper shows up with the World Forger, and like again feeding into some of this Darkseid absolute event stuff that we're building up to, which I appreciate. I like that more books are like tying into it. That's fine. Most of the book though, like, does anything interesting happen or anything that I can recall that I want to talk about? Marlon Moonlight was one of the people who like teleported in out of nowhere. Was that exciting for you, Matt?
Not particularly.
Yeah.
Like, that's not where I want to see her. Like, it's cool that she's with Huntress, right? But like,
Earth 2 Huntress.
Don't want to see her. Yeah, Earth 2. Yeah, with the big, tall. I like the subplot with Grodd, where they kind of just Time Trapper and World Forger just want to do away with him, right? Because they need that Omega energy.
Well, they want to dissect him because they think the secret to fixing this chronal energy stuff it will be inside him. And then basically after the heroes fight them a little bit to try and stop them, so it's just an excuse for some action panels basically across several pages, Grodd basically just convinces them that his knowledge of like how this happened is more invaluable than anything they'll find in his body. So they just take him instead. So Grodd's with them now for the time being, and that's it.
We get a good panel of Time Trapper, lifting him up, and just Grodd going, "No, you cannot do this." And I feel like, anytime I pick up my dog to quiet them, I feel like that's their same vibe. Like, no, put me down, unhand me. Here's my big question here. Is it just because the timey-wimey here? It's the panel where after they make the tuning fork to get what's his name back? Airwave.
Okay, hold on, you're jumping ahead to the end of that. Just to set that up, Mr. Teriffic is working on trying to find a way to bring Airwave back. And there's a whole thing where he's talking to his younger self, but his younger self teleports back, and then he finally realizes he's tuning fork. So, yes, continue, Matt.
Well, no, because I didn't even talk about that. It was the page after that. It's with Star Sapphire at the top, and she hits Grodd with this beam, and then we get this weird rewind that happens that also has the Justice League Unlimited here going, and it was just, I didn't know what to make of the scene. Like, is it just to show the timey-wiminess that it's unstable?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean,
it was.
Yeah, I mean, there's a panel when Supergirl shows up where she like splits into all of her like past versions. Yeah, which was a nice panel, but I mean, it's just, again, it just feels like a lot of this is an excuse for a bunch of different stuff. And
that's my thing too, because like, what's the point with the World Forger here? And then the attack from the Justice League here. It was a very weird page. I couldn't make heads or tails of it.
I mean, World Forger in general, I get the point, is that he's trying to protect the multiverse and blah blah blah. So yeah, the tuning fork thing works, and Mr. Terrific reaches out his hand, and Airwave kind of forms around him and like takes his hand, and they're forgiving him, and like you were manipulated by Grodd, but we don't blame you. Blah 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 blah. The ending. Because the Trinity's been kind of missing all issue, and the reason they give early on is that, well, they're worried about like time cop rules, that if this Batman interacts with our Batman, then maybe something bad will happen. So they're all away. But we find out at the end that they're at the original Justice League headquarters, the one in the cave. Was it Happy Harbor? Is that what the place is? It's
in Happy Harbor, but I forget the name. There was an actual name for it.
Sure, that's where they are. But yeah, they're having this conversation where Batman says, so it's about this incarnation of the new league, and our rush to assemble it, we made a catastrophic error. So Batman's saying they made a mistake with this team, and that's the cliffhanger we leave on. Notably, the next thing to read for this is not the next issue, it's the special, the Justice League Dark Tomorrow special, which I assume is next week, because it's week 5. But that's what's coming next.
And then we get the time lost, right? The stuff gets sealed, right? They have the Atom come in at the end with the challengers because they can follow.
Well, that's before this page, right? This is
yeah. And all that, and then we get the time loss, and there's a bunch of these time displaced heroes now that are kind of stuck here. So I'm wondering if that's kind of the point of Justice League Red that we're getting to.
Yeah, maybe
that they were kind of talking around in the solicits. Because we have Marilyn Moonlight, the Earth 2 Huntress, Jonah Hex, Terry McGinnis. So,
Yeah, that's Batman Beyond, for those of you who don't know his name. I mean, I felt very little for this. This falls into a bunch of... It's just an excuse for Dan Mora to draw a bunch of characters, including that horrible Superman-Batman hybrid from World's Finest. He's there for a few pages, so we get a bunch of him as well. It just feels like an excuse to draw a bunch of stuff. There's not a lot of plot advancement. It feels you know, I mean, I think the Mr. Terrific Airwave plot was mostly fine. You know, it wasn't like riveting, but it was fine. But all the stuff with all these heroes popping in and out, mostly just left me feeling kind of bored. And yeah, so I don't know. It's a shame. Like, at least it feels more relevant to greater DCU stuff, at least, which is more than I can say for World's Finest. So it feels a little bit better than that, but not by a great amount.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Yeah. All right. What are you giving Justice League Unlimited?
It's a straight 7. It's technically not bad. Demore's art's good, but yeah, I feel less and less for it each issue.
I think it's more of a 5.5 for me, but
there you go.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Mora's art is good, but it's that can only save it so much if it feels like there's just a mess of characters on every page. So there you go. That's just limited. Mr. Terrific, Year 1, Issue 3, Al Letson writing with Valentine D. Landro on the art. So he put on, I mean, not his full-time jacket or anything, but he put on a jacket. He's going to go be Mr. Terrific for the first time, at least in the flashback story, which is the bulk of it. We start off with him investigating Darkseid's crack that's like in the science building, and there's whatever. He ends up going to what was it? The Palace of Eternity, which is something that happened in Flash as well, just before issue 800, which I think we did read because we read up to 800 at least. But
yeah, but I don't remember him going here, so I'm just gonna take their word for it. He also befriends a hellhound from Apocalypse that was trying to attack him. That came through the energy, So that's cool.
Yeah, that's fine. But then we get into the meat of it. We get into the regular artist, and immediately I'm just drawn into it a lot more. Mr. Terrific sneaking into the building, the Prescott building that used to be his, and he makes a hologram of his dead friend to distract the guard from one of his T-spheres. And it's
playback from that app that he had, the workout app.
The workout app,
was very funny.
Yeah. So yeah, it's funny stuff, and he's sneaking in. But there's some other stuff that's cool world building here, where Prescott goes to see Lex Luthor, who happens to be in the city, and he's like, "You tried to steal my Nexus engine," and he's like, "I did no such thing," and she's convinced he's done it. What's so funny is that he is actually trying to make his own Nexus engine, we find out, because Mercy's at a location in Gotham, and they're trying to turn their own one on. It doesn't work very well, though. It ends up blowing up in their face. But yeah, there's a lot of cool scenes in this issue, where after that we go to Mr. Terrific's place, where the head guy, was it Cormoran, is got a SWAT team going into Mr. Terrific's place because he's trying to search and investigate because he's convinced he was the getaway driver from before. But and the art's really good. It's very quiet. The SWAT team sneaking about, but then it seems like Mr. Terrific just walks out into the kitchen and gets a glass of water. And Prescott, who's in the control room with the Cormorant's okay, that's it, we're done. I'm going home, pack up stuff. And it turns out that this is again a hologram. This is something that Terrific. It's not really high. It's not, well, it's pretty high tech, but it's not as high tech as his T-spheres. This was an early prototype that required to be in a building, but because it's his house, he'd always kind of prepared to use it there. So
it requires a lot of energy, which is hard to do portable. But in your house, it's hardwired to the grid, so it's able to do it. I thought this was a fun touch.
Yeah, it felt like it was okay. It's super advanced, but not as advanced as what he usually has in the present day. So it's a nice little sort of stepping stone. I almost thought there was going to be a plot point where someone noticed, hey, his house is eating so much power right now. What's going on? They never did that, but I thought it was funny to think about it. Yeah, so Mercy like leaves the Gotham lab on a helicopter, and as she leaves, they turn on the Nexus engine, and we get those splotches from the Darkseid crack and the explosion as the entire thing goes up. So I'm like, yeah, Lexi's attempt at a Nexus engine did not go well.
No, and the bat signal ends up going up at the end of the explosion.
Yeah.
Because they're in Gotham.
Yeah, which I thought was just a reference to the fact that they were in Gotham, but the end of this actually teases that next time there is going to be some Batman stuff. So we'll get younger Batman interjecting. But Cormoran does come after Mr. Terrific because he sort of basically gets suspicious of the CCTV cameras going down. So he tracks him down in the building, starts shooting at him. and we get a little bit of a fight between them. And it's it's really well drawn. I really like Cormorant kind of like talking down to him the whole time, making fun of his name, all that stuff. But no, really good stuff. The big cliffhanger is that Cormorant does beat the shit out of him with his baton, and the final page is like, because it's like a motorcycle helmet that Mr. Terrific's wearing here. He's not like got the T-mask yet, and it ends with a full page spread of his like glass on the mask just completely smashed, and we can see his eye coming through from underneath. So pretty good cliffhanger. I think the art really is a big part of what makes this book work. I mean, I do think the writing is good, it's solid, but like the art and all this like backstory stuff is so confident and so clean, thick, heavy inks. Like it has this really cool vibe to it that feels really confident. And I was enjoying everything, because part of me thought, oh, I'm going to really like Mr. Terrific sneaking through the building, and that ended up only being a small part of the issue, because we cut to Prescott and Lex and sneaking about his house with a SWAT team and all that. But all of it was captivating, and even the idea of like, oh, Batman might get involved because of this explosion is kind of interesting. We might even get the first meeting between Batman and Mr. Terrific during this story, so that's kind of cool.
And early days Bruce, and now this swaggery kind of Mr. Terrific.
Oh yeah.
How are those guys? How are they gonna butt heads?
Oh, Batman's going to be grouchy. There's no.
I mean, absolutely.
It's possible Mr. Terrific's intellect is going to impress him quickly. Like that is a possibility, but we'll see.
But I also feel like leave their hero stuff to us. You're just a dude, and he's like, well, what are you? So I can see the witty back and forth. Where they'll by the end he'll gain his trust, right? And we'll get a fun story out of that. There's this is a Rocky 3 reference, right? Where
which one?
Cormorant's like, I'm not calling you Mr. Terrific. And he goes, I don't think you should be talking about anybody's name. And he goes, well, how about Mr. T? Remember one of my favorite lines from one of his movies seems apropos. My prediction, pain.
Oh yeah, right.
That is from Rocky 3.
That is Rocky 3. Yeah.
And I was like, all right, that's fun.
I forgot you said that, but yeah, that's Rocky 3. It's Clubber just before the first fight where he wins, I believe, is where he says that.
So a lot of fun, and then just the fight between them. We've seen just how good Mr. Terrific is at like not just fighting but getting out of these things, and the fact that Cormorant's just got him, and you can see the panic on his face in that central panel, right? That's done in the red, that's under the mask, and he's trying to find the exit. So he just shows how completely in over his head is just with this one guy. So art again is the star of this one.
Yeah, art is phenomenal. Writing's really solid. It feels like a really nice, well-paced story where I'm getting a really significant chapter each time, and it feels like each one's offering me something different. The first issue was a really good insight into where Holt's head was at the time. Second issue, the fallout of the friend's death, and like the inspiration of the Spectre showing him the original Mr. Terrific and kind of like suggesting that he becomes something like that. And then this one being like him trying and failing, which is, makes sense. He should fail first. More compelling that way. Plus all these greater ties to like, Prescott working for Darkseid is a really interesting like wrinkle we talked about last time. And the fact that Lex is trying to replicate this Nexus engine also makes complete sense. It's just, I said last issue, it's really interesting having Mr. Terrific's origin be in a world that's already fully formed with a lot of these other characters already established. Like, I don't want that for all the heroes, but it's notably nice and different from a lot of the biggies who tend to like have their origin in a vacuum before they start intermingling with anything else. Yeah. So it's cool.
Right. just the fact that we had Lex and Batman didn't show up, but the tease of Batman. Yeah. Those are kind of Terrific's also parallels. Those are the three that he always gets compared to, or the two. Yeah. So. All right, what are you giving Mr. Terrific year one? I'm gonna give this a straight 8.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'll actually nudge up to 8.5. I really like the vibe of this book. Honestly, the only real negative is that the present day stuff at the start just feels a little bit like, I almost wish it wasn't there, and maybe it'll feel like it's perfect to be there once it like ties into like what he's investigating in the final issue maybe, but I almost feel like it would be better if it just didn't have it there, because it'd be very easy, especially once it's all collected, to recommend as just here's just the origin on its own.
Yeah.
Would be cool.
Yeah,
but
it's an unnecessary framing device.
Yeah. But hey, so last book I'm going to talk about is a Patreon book. Every month on patreon.com/MailFuzzTV you can make me read a book at one of the higher tiers. And this is actually the final issue of American Vampire. This is American Vampire 1976, issue 10. So this has been a journey. Tyler's been making me read this all the way from the start years ago at this point. And it's finally come to this point where we're ready to wrap up. I'm very excited to see what he picks to replace this, because he's been thinking about it. One suggestion he did throw out, which I won't say just in case he doesn't pick it, he did say he thought maybe there was too much of it. And I'm like, I don't know. Like, I feel like American Vampires, if anything's a bit longer than the thing he's suggesting, but maybe he doesn't want to pick another really long thing. Maybe he'd rather pick some, 12 issue or whatever runs to go into. But regardless, this is, bringing this whole thing to an end. The sad part, of course, recently is that I think the last 3 or 4 issues have been some of the weakest of the entire book. And the build up to the ending has been definitely flawed and leaving me with some bad taste in my mouth. Particularly the reveal that Jim Book's now a villain was a bit of a weird swerve that just felt, I don't know, it didn't sit well, and it still doesn't sit well even here at the ending. So this final issue, which I think is a bit oversized, it has this framing device where it shows you Skinner back in 1925 sneaking into Pearl's room just after she was bit, because she's lying there with a bandage on her neck. And there's narration which is continuing his letter that he was writing in the bunker before he came back out to save the day, where he basically says something to the effect of, oh, that night 51 years ago, I had a reason for biting you, I had a reason for making you a vampire, and it's not what you've thought it's been all these years. And it sets that up at the start. And then at the end of the issue, after Skinner Sweet dies, because he does, he basically dies a hero having saved the world, his narration comes back in, and it feels like it's building up to him saying something really important or meaningful about why he really bit her. And honestly, I thought it built to nothing. He basically just makes a speech about how to be an American vampire, it can't just be one of them. It has to be at least 2 of them. The each other's yin and yang, and there has to. And it basically makes a speech of what it means to be American and why the American vampire has to be this, because that's what being American is, and it has to be both the bright side and the ugly side, and it has to be this and that. And so much of this book has always been really good at it's always been interesting how it ties into American history, and it's always been interesting how he's built vampire mythos around real things, and both American and international, and how the Americans kind of the new Earth side of that, and this new frontier of the vampire rising up, and blah 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 blah. All of that was always really good, but this final speech feels a little bit. It's the only time I think in the entire book where I felt alienated because I'm not American. Because it feels like a speech about how great it is to be American, or even acknowledging the ugly side of being American, how it's important to be American. And I'm like, I don't think I give a shit, Scott, about what it means to be an American. I don't think I give a shit at all. And it's not like the book's ever not been completely tied to being American. It has. I mean, even this final arc is taking place in the bicentennial, and that's intentional. But this final speech just kind of felt like a big dud. I thought it was going to turn into Skinner admitting that he chose to turn her because he was love at first sight, or because there was something in her that made him feel compassion and he wanted her to live forever, or something. But it ended up being this weird speech about being American and about what it means to be the American vampire. And obviously he's trying to put this in to make it feel like it's coming full circle, and it's all tying back to him turning Pearl into a vampire, which was the very first arc of the book. But honestly, it was a bit of a whiff, and I didn't really like the speech, and the ending was kind of weird for me because of that. The actual bulk of the book is that Skinner has taken the flower of life, he's turned into a kaiju vampire, like the first the beast is. He's like a big kaiju version of Book, demon with horns and all that. The Grey Trader's got his tongue around Pearl, and this big kaiju fight takes place. A bunch of different things happen here. One is that at one point, the Grey Trader tries to do his trick where he pretends to be someone else to trick Travis, because Travis, of course, has become the new Dracula and he's controlling all the old school vampires. But by having his guard lord, he loses that control, and those vampires bite the ancients, because the ancients show up as like the cavalry at one point during this to help fight the great evil. But because they all get bit by the Carpathians, they become under the control of the beast. So the chips are really down at that point, and it feels like, but then the real Gus shows up and Travis snaps out of it and the whole thing. The way they ultimately win, though, is the fact that Pearl's using the fancy mask to pretend to be the agent dude who's working for the president. Bixby, if I remember his name correctly. And basically she's trying to convince the president to launch nukes at Vegas where this fight's taking place, because basically they have to have the beast be wounded so that Skinner can put his blood in, so the blood of the Flower of Life will go into him and kill him. But he's getting stronger by the second, and his skin's becoming unpenetrable. They can't break it. The big ending, though, is that Felicia, who's pretending to be Bixby, takes control of Air Force One and flies the plane, sacrificing herself into the kaiju Book / the Great Evil, which knocks him down, injures him enough that Skinner's able to come over, cut himself, and pour his blood into his eye, which ultimately saves the day. So that's the big kind of heroic thing. So Felicia is actually the only one of the main characters who dies in the big final battle. She's the one that gets the big... Well, actually, other than Skinner, obviously, because he also dies. Right. Because Skinner was going to die the second he took this flower. It was like, hey, you're on minutes of life here to do this, and then you're going to die. So Pearl holds Skinner, gives him a kiss as he's dying. It's a whole thing. And because one of the things that the Great Evil tries to convince Skinner to not do this is that, hey, if you kill me, everyone on Earth will not know this happened, and they won't even know you're the one that saved them. You won't even get the recognition for it. So it's all about Skinner being selfless and doing it for the right reasons, not because he wants to be celebrated and remembered. So then, Skinner's speech, plays out in the narration as, everyone kind of has their epilogue stuff and all that. Pearl and the others, Mimita and the other, Poole and Gus, go to the president and basically say, hey, we need to make a deal about the VMs and vampires and all that. So the book actually does something in the epilogue as Skinner's speech is playing out, which is that it goes to present day at the time of the book coming out, I assume, which would have been 2020, 2022, whenever this book ended. And Pearl's got short hair, she's leading the VMs, she goes to this underground bunker. We don't get a close look at the others who are there, but it looks like Gus is an adult, to kind of confirm that we have skipped ahead, some year. I mean, he'd actually be pretty old, because, if he was already...
He was born in the 30s,
Yeah, but he was growing at a weird rate, though, because he had the vampire thing. So
right, but how old is he there in 70s? In 76.
I mean, he's
still like a
12 or something like that in the 70s.
Yeah, like a preteen.
Yeah.
So yeah. So.
But yeah, they have a big round table, and Pearl comes in and is like, hey, let's get to work. And they just end on this line where Skinner's narration says, in the end, that's what you taught me, Dolly. The most badass way of saying, now off we go. And she says, off we go to the team as they go. And there's a memorial on the wall of Skinner's letter and a candy cane and a frame. And that's how it ends. Yeah, this is kind of just okay. The whole playing into the big bad's fine. The ancients showing up to try and help is all right as well. There's some big action set piece moments that are perfectly solid. But to be honest, the epilogue and I think one of the big things, I like the idea of Skinner having an arc where he sacrifices himself at the end to save everyone. I'm perfectly fine with that. But I think trying to make us emotionally care about him as if I don't know, like it kind of feels like it betrays the edginess of Skinner Sweet. Like it almost feels like it would work better if it's like, oh, it's kind of cool that the edgy badass, like the asshole, did something good at the end, but the end of the book's kind of playing it like, oh, he was the guy that always had a heart of gold, and we have to celebrate him and be emotional about it. Just I don't know, it feels a little bit off tonally, for how I saw it. Like it almost like this feels like a really damning statement, but the ending kind of feels a little bit like Snyder didn't write the ending. Like some fan came in and did like an ending, and we get like this epilogue that feels a little fan fictiony and like no, and I don't mean that in a super harsh way, but it feels like it's ending in a way that doesn't feel that inspired. Where most of the series from the start was pretty inspired, and it was constantly doing interesting things. And it definitely feels like ever since it came back for second cycle, it never was quite the same. But there were still good things happening in there, and the stuff that I liked with the space race and like the Grey Trader was cool at first. He feels a little bit weaker here at the end because he feels like just the henchman of the real big bad. So he feels a little diminished in that sense. But I think this last little stretch, these last like 5 issues, really in 1976 as a whole for the most part, to be honest, but these last like 4 or 5 issues especially, ever since the reveal of Book being a villain, it's just not quite felt right. And it's felt a little bit off. It's felt like we're kind of just going through the motions to finally end it. And I don't know if it's like a case of Snyder got bored and finally just wanted to be done with it so he didn't have to come back and do another one, or if he was told this has to be it and maybe he had to rush to his ending, even though the fact that it's ended in 1976 feels right for the themes of the whole American thing. But it just, I don't know, I'm very underwhelmed by these last like several issues, and that includes this final issue, which is a shame because the book was so good. And I think maybe just never had a good ending in mind for it. Maybe the ending was always going to be a little underwhelming because he never had a good one planned.
I think I remember hearing like he never thought that it was going to go past, right? So that's why he used Dracula in Survival of the Fittest, you know, and all of that type of stuff. And he was building to that. And then, yeah, I kind of felt like he was in a holding pattern afterwards. You know, like you said, he was just kind of not maybe bored, but just like not as inspired as he was early on. Because the earlier parts of that book are so good.
Oh yeah, they're great. They're so creative. And there's still some creative sprinkles here or there. Like the space race stuff, like I mentioned, I thought was pretty cool, and that was an interesting thing they were doing with that. But it just feels like uninspired. It feels like he's ending it out of obligation rather than because he had some great ideas of how to wrap things up. And that's a shame. And it does make you wish that it just kind of ended on maybe more of an open thing a little bit earlier rather than try to like do something that kind of ends everything. But you know, it's not the worst thing ever. Albuquerque's art's obviously still pretty solid. There's still some decent moments in here, but I hate to say it, but like I feel like I'm giving the final issue like a 6. Like that's you know,
Yikes.
It's fine. I'm sorry to say it, but it's just fine. And that's kind of a shame. Because I would say like 2/3 of the entirety of American Vampire are excellent. And then it starts to waver a bit, and it's been a little bit hit and miss, especially in this last chunk. So it's a shame to feel that way, and you wish it ended on a high. And the sad part is that I kind of felt like it was coming this way. Like the last few issues were not giving me much like hope, but I was hoping that final issue would just be a special on its own because he finally gets to do whatever he had planned for the ending. And sadly, it just didn't quite work. So 6 out of 10, yeah, for the final issue. I'm sorry to say it, but it's how it feels. But there you go. That is the Patreon book for the week. And obviously, I'm a little behind because I was sick last week, but I will be able to catch up next week on week 5 with the other 2 that I've got to do. So that'll bring us to the last part of the show where we do our picks of the week. You know, week's panel/moment, best art, best cover, and top 5 books. So Matt, what are you picking for your panel/moment?
All right, so there's a couple big ones in Superman that I was a big fan of. I do like the the opening page with Clark going through, doing some things, and then in Absolute Wonder Woman, the super trippy stuff when she inhales that gas. I think Sherman's got some big moments there. I think the fight with the Panther God, whether it was Hecate or not, I think that actual fight sequence when Diana, goes to protect the turtle, I think is really up there. But mine's gonna be from Superman, and it's the final page reveal. It's that Superman Prime coming back into my life unexpectedly. Real big moment.
Okay. I gotta just go with the Darkseid revealing Absolute Martian Manhunter. It's the easy one, but it's the one that hit me the hardest this week.
I left that one for you specifically, so
you don't gotta leave me picks. We can pick the same thing.
I know, okay. But
Oh, yeah. All right. For cover of the week, there's a few good variants here or there. That's hard to argue with. I'll shout out the Batman variant by Gabriel Delato, who does these nice painted covers. It's just a bunch of villains. It's clearly like if not a wraparound, it's connected to some other variants from other issues, I assume. I like the Chris Anka variant for Absolute Wonder Woman. The colors are really strong, lots of reds and blacks, which obviously go really well together. I think my pick, though, is probably going to be the Francavilla cover for Absolute Martian Manhunter. I didn't know he did a cover when I compared some of the art to his during the book. So that's just a weird coincidence that he did a cover for it, but that's what I'm picking. Really good stuff. I like
all the triangles, right, that are melting out of the top. It's a real cool looking poster cover.
What are you picking?
So there's a Chula Lote variant for Superman that's got Superwoman on it. And it's got the red background, and I like Chula Lote. It's real nice. And then Absolute Martian Manhunter had another one that I liked, but it was the Lee Garbett, and it's very mid-century kind of like Psycho. I'm trying to blank on that art director that was famous for all the title sequences, whatever. But it has that kind of vibe. It's got John in profile, and then cut down the thing. It's got the Martian, but as an up close. It just looks super cool. But my cover is going to be from Absolute Wonder Woman, and it is the Mahmoud Asrar. It's got Diana with her big old sword and Pegasus, and just the way that it plays with the darks off of Pegasus and the shadows on Diana. It looks super cool.
Cool. Art of the week.
All right, this is tough because there's some real good stuff out there, right? You got the layup is Hayden Sherman, right? You also got Rodríguez for Absolute Martian Manhunter, Dan Mora for Superman, Xermanico, Mr. Teriffic, Valentine, Landro. But for what the story was this week, Absolute Martian Manhunter takes it for me. It just nearly beats Hayden Sherman because of the stuff that it was doing with the shadows and the creativity there.
No, I agree. I gotta go with Absolute Martian Manhunter with Javier Rodríguez. It's so creative in how it does things. I mean, I loved Landro on Mr. Teriffic. Obviously, Sherman's layouts are fantastic, and there's other solid artists this week, but it's got to be Rodríguez. All right, top 5 books, Matt. Go.
All right, number 1 is going to be Absolute Martian Manhunter. 2 is Absolute Wonder Woman. 3 is Superman. 4 is Mr. Teriffic Year 1. And 5 is Green Lantern.
My number 1 is Absolute Martian Manhunter. Number 2, Mr. Teriffic Year 1. Number 3 is Absolute Wonder Woman. 4, Green Lantern. And 5, I guess it is Superman. I guess Superman's 5.
There you go.
Beats the other 2. But there you go. I will now tell you what's coming next week from DC Comics. So next week is a week 5. We have a Nightwing annual. We have a Titans annual. We've got Batman, The Long Halloween, The Last Halloween, issue 8. It's been a little while since we had the last one of those, I think.
It's been a minute.
Yeah. Flash 23 is out next week, so they kept one regular book back for next week. And then we have the Justice League Dark Tomorrow Special, issue 1, which we'll be looking at, of course, because it's tying into events and whatnot. There's the DC Sonic Hedgehog, issue 5. There's Gotham City Sirens, Unfit for Orbit 5. There's DC's California Love, issue 1, which is your big 80-page anthology special. And then there's your facsimile editions and whatnot. So yeah, like I said earlier on, we will go back and do some of the issues from last week that Matt and David did not cover. I don't know which ones off the top of my head you guys did, so we'll obviously look at the list of books and do whatever ones didn't happen. But you said New Gods was one of them, so we'll be doing New Gods next week at the very least.
New Gods for sure. Yeah.
So look forward to that. But yeah, so I mean, yeah, there's 3 new books. We'll do some books from last week that didn't get covered, and I'll have a couple of Patreon books. So there's definitely enough there for our show next week, for sure. But yeah, so that is the show. Thank you very much for joining us. Hopefully you were happy to have a regular episode back. None of that 90-minute crap that they gave you last week. You get almost 3 full hours of Comics From The Multiverse this week. So thank you very much for joining us. You can, of course, support the show and help keep it coming by going to patreon.com/MailFuzzTV and supporting there for some monies. So go do that if you would like to. We appreciate everyone who already supports us. And of course, you can also support sort of tangentially by doing things like YouTube memberships for the other channels. We're actually not that far away from the Comics From The Multiverse channel being able to have things like memberships and tips and things like that. We're very, very close to unlocking that, so I'll be able to recommend that sometime in the near future. But Patreon is the easy one. Patreon is the one you can go to quite easily. But that is the show. Like, subscribe, share the show out, all the usual stuff. All of it helps. Thank you very much for joining us. Hopefully you enjoyed the show. Keep reading DC Comics, and remember to never get lost in the Speed Force.